Submit to the High Council here on World Class Bullshitters. I'm your host, Jeff, and with me tonight is Mecha Random 42.
Hello.
For Midnight's Edge After Dark, say hello to Tom.
Hello, everybody.
And finally, the only person to ever have their own theme song on this show, Michael from Retroblasting.
It's not what you are. It's what you would have been if you hadn't have worked for Harvey W.
Oh, that name. It's funny. We had talked about him on the periphery for a long time, but now his name's attached tangentially to Star Wars, so yay.
He's Star Wars stepdaddy.
So, folks, we got a lot of stuff to cover. Today is Revenge of the 5th. Yesterday was May the 4th, Michael's favorite holiday. Okay, so Michael, I had seen you post a whole bunch of stuff about May the 4th. None of it's Star Wars, by the way.
Nope.
Could you tell the audience why you take issue with May the 4th as Star Wars Day?
Because we all used to pride ourselves as Star Wars fans back in the dark times and even into the special edition era on knowing May 25th. As a matter of fact, they even made May 25th, they made 1977 a joke in a number of LucasArts games. I don't remember if May 25th was in there as well. I'm sure it was in Day of the Tentacle and things like that. But the point is that May 25th was the day. And then somewhere after the internet hit, some Chuckle House fan got clever with puns and dad jokes and made some pun on the internet. And it became this dumb wordplay thing. And all the fans adopted it, and now Disney has adopted it because Disney's like, that's funny. And we could monetize that. But it has nothing to do with Star Wars. No Star Wars film has ever dropped on May 4th, ever. May 25th, May 19th, May 21st, December. There's been no May 4th, nothing. And my point was, when I did that whole thing on the feed, so many things have actually happened in history on May 4th, many of which are exponentially more important than anything having to do with Jar Jar Binks. So I just lost my shit, really, and just started blasting out all the stuff that's happened on May 4th throughout history. That's what I did.
Well, somebody sent a super chat in last night to either Jesse's show or mine about the Kent State shootings.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, great. That's May 4th.
The Anne Frank Foundation was founded on May 4th, 1953. We found out in 1994 from David Bowie's wife that David Bowie and Mick Jagger had done the nasty on May 4th. Yeah.
Well, we all knew before that.
We all knew before, but it was confirmed. I scoured the internet for all kinds of fun stuff. There was a huge street fight in Austria in 1923 between socialists, Nazis, and police. That was a big deal. A lot of people got hurt. The big workers' riot in Chicago in 1886 that had people throwing bombs at the police. That's got some interesting paintings.
So what you're telling me is nothing on May 4th has anything to do with Star Wars.
Nothing. Nothing. And yet people still every year, and this year, I think what set me off to this level was Disney's attempt to, I don't remember if it's license or gain ownership of the hashtag. And I thought, no, I was like, this is a bridge too far. We can't do this anymore. Stand our ground. I mean, it's like hold, hold, wait for those horses to charge. I'm sick of it, man. Sick of it.
Well, they know they can't copyright or trademark it, but what it is they basically were saying if you use the hashtag, they could use your tweet in a future video, advertisement, what have you. But just the audacity that they have to say, well, if you use this tweet, we're going to use your tweet somehow, or this hashtag.
Well, it was only It was just a legal disclaimer saying if you responded to their tweet and had Disney tagged and hashtagged it May the 4th, that they might use it. So don't be upset by showing some personal information for legal reasons. It was just something to cover their asses. So some angry Karen doesn't go out there and say, "Oh my God, you used my tweet."
Last night I told them to just go spam it with pictures of Slave Leia. They'll like that, I said.
Yeah, so May the 4th was fun. I was on 4 streams. I was with you, Tom. I was with Anna on her 140K celebration stream. I was on my own stream and I was on Jesse's stream. So it's nice to cut that in half today and just do 2 streams. But everyone was excited to talk about how great old Star Wars was, but how dumb the new ones are. And then this news broke, and I thought this would be a nice way to start the show. So we've all seen the video, but we're going to check it out tonight. So show of hands, AK, I'm just going to ask you guys, who's been to Canada? Michael, have you ever been to Canada?
I haven't. I've been a lot of places, including Australia, but I haven't actually crossed the border into Canada yet.
Tom, have you been to Canada?
No, but it's not for lack of trying.
Mecca?
Yes.
Okay, Mecca's been to Canada.
Yes, I've been to Calgary and Edmonton, just mostly the little Alberta area. But yeah, I liked it. It was very clean and nice and very much like America.
Well, did you know that the Canadian police arrest people dressed as stormtroopers?
I was under the assumption it was for the gun, because the gun isn't now I saw this video. My first reaction was, well, that looks too real though. That looks really realistic. And because I remember hearing something where like toy weapons and fake weapons and prop weapons have to have some sort of really, really bright, like a neon orange sort of coloration.
That's in the US though. I don't know if that's up there.
Yeah, I don't know if that's Canada too though. So I didn't know that this was in Canada when I saw the video.
Well, here's the thing. You're kind of fair to think it does somewhat look like a real weapon, because if I'm not mistaken, right, Michael, the original props were basically built off of real guns and stuff.
They were built off of British Sterling submachine guns from the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
And they were real weapons that they just put extra greeblies all over. So
that's what I thought.
Didn't James Bond use that assault rifle in The Spy Who Loves Me?
That would have been the right era, because that gun was used for several decades by the British military. So yeah, very likely.
Okay. Because of the side clip is what always would make me think that looks like the Star Wars gun. So
yeah, it's a big side banana clip. It's like a curved magazine, and then they just cut that off and plug the hole with a short mag, and then they put this electronics gizmo next to it and bolted that on there, and then they put like big T-track all down the flash suppressor, so that's why it looks finned at the front. Yep.
All I know is a lot of the Star Wars guns were like the Han Solo blaster was a Mauser.
Yeah, it's a 1896 broom handle Mauser. Yep.
According to where'd it go here in the chat? Epic Slacker, Canada has the orange cap on toy gun as well, Mecca. So you were correct. So I guess that would be. I guess we have to be fair in pointing out that she does not have the orange cap on the gun. So.
Yeah, and I would be kind of concerned in this day and age, even that somebody was gonna like go off and be nuts and do a James Holmes or something.
Well, that being said, here's the thing: is where I think even in that scenario, I think the cops are wrong or in the wrong here, because somebody who's taken at least 2 courses of psychology, the last thing you want to do if you think you're entering a situation where somebody could be aggravated or, for lack of a better word, insane or crazy or anything like that, you don't want to go in and aggravate them more. So you want to approach them in a friendly manner, but in a protecting yourself at the same time. Them going in there with the guns like they did, if this happened to be somebody who was off the chain, that person could have just started opening up fire without even thinking. And it would have been the cops' fault for escalating the situation at first in either position, because all they had to do to just de-escalate this whole thing would have just positioned themselves in a way and go, hey, who are you? What are you doing? Please drop the weapon, which she did, and then take off their mask and then talk to her a little bit.
Well, what you would do is you kind of go up and be like, hey, Star Wars fan, huh? Yeah, is that like an authentic?
The other problem is I heard in Canada that they're all Star Trek fans. I'm kidding, of course.
Well, the other I guess what you'd call perspective on this, and this is not me doing anything douchey like devil's advocate. I don't mean it like that. I just mean there's another side to this, because I don't know if you guys have ever done a lot of costuming, but I used to before this actual issue became a thing. It's got increasingly worse over the last 4 or 5 years, and it got so difficult to even attend a convention without jumping through all these hoops with zip ties and everything else, and everybody checking you every 10 seconds. Indiana Jones was one that I used to do, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I from the get-go, I just had the flap holster. I didn't even carry a fake revolver. I just had the flap holster empty because the holster's flapped, so you can't even see that there's no gun in there. And people would ask me, like, oh, why don't you carry the revolver? And I'm like, for that reason over there. And I would point, and it'd be some poor stormtrooper with convention people around them, zip tying their triggers, together with neon yellow zip ties and stuff, and saying, you need to go to the security desk and have yourself tagged and bagged and all this kind of stuff. And I'm going, wow, this is really sucking the life out of this. Recent example, and then I'll shut up. On the live stream on Saturday that we did, we do a live stream every Saturday at Retroblasting. We were talking about the MCU, and we were talking about Captain America. And I jokingly grabbed my Captain America shield, and then I grabbed my completely fake World War II Thompson machine gun, because that's what he carried in the movie. And I was like, look, I'm World War II Captain America. And I wasn't even in a public place. I was in my own studio talking about Captain America, and the chat suddenly started to light up with people going, wow, this is really making me uncomfortable. Like, Michael, you've lost me here. I just,
I'm glad I missed that part.
Yeah. And it wasn't a massive amount of people. Like, the majority of people were just fine, but there were just enough, 4 or 5, that it was like, okay, this whole situation with this guy, my point being is that if you're going to go out in a costume these days for your own self-preservation, it is kind of foolish, especially if you're not part of an organized event. Don't carry a fake firearm or space blaster of any kind, because people aren't smart enough anymore to deal with it. They don't know how to handle it. I'm not trying to put the blame on this guy. What I'm saying is, he's now understanding that time has passed, as the spy in Raiders said.
No, and actually, what's funny is it's actually a she.
Oh, it's a she? Okay. Yeah.
And then what's even funnier is you got 3 cops here. You would think at one point one of them would have been like, guys, wait.
What's sad is that I guess you can hear her crying too.
Yeah, right. She's sobbing and crying. It's like, come on. I mean, she doesn't even have the gun in her hands anymore. They haven't taken the mask off on her, and they're already starting to handcuff her.
Exactly. Like, the second she dropped the gun, they should have de-escalated the thing.
Right.
Like, that second.
What is happening in this video right now? We don't need to
This
see
is the guy
that.
that was videotaping it, and then he goes over there and they tell him to get the hell away. And then they pull up a truck so that nobody can videotape what's going on. Because there was, I guess some of the witnesses said that she had a bloodied nose from the way they were handling her. I mean, they weren't overly rough with her, but still, it's like, did it really need that many cops to arrest this girl who probably weighs about 100 pounds, if that?
Right. Right. Yeah, it's one of these situations now in 2020. Like, if this was 2005, this probably wouldn't have happened. But in 2020, if you want to walk out on May 4th in your stormtrooper outfit, better just leave that blaster at home. Just the way it is. And I'm not justifying the police's behavior. They totally overreacted.
Yeah, because the one guy's got a shotgun on her. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, exactly. But also, in order to protect yourself and minimize that, that's like was it last year or the year before? God, the way time flies. Everyone said, what are you doing as a costume for Dragon Con this year? Because I was going to go back and do costuming again. And I said, I'm going to do Doctor Who, which I've never done. And they said, really? I said, yeah, why? They said, well, you just got that Bespin Luke outfit done from Empire. I said, I don't want to wear the blaster anymore on the out in public, and I don't want to do that outfit without the blaster. So I'm just going to walk around with a dude that, as a dude that looks like he's carrying a big dental pick, because that, the sonic screwdriver is harmless. Yeah, that was my logic. Worked out just fine. I didn't get harassed.
I do feel bad though for people that look. I've been on the other side of the table where I'm working conventions trying to sell stuff, and I have cosplayers just stand in front of your table and pose for pictures and stuff. But at the same time, I do, and I was annoyed. I'll be honest. Like, I'm sitting there trying to to rent the table at this place and do all this stuff, it's a $200 investment, and then you're trying to just at least break even and sometimes do well. So I always was a little not testy towards cosplayers, but now, I mean, removed from that situation, I do feel for you, because I mean, these people put in hundreds of hours in these suits. They want to get, I mean, Michael, I know you're one of the people that's like, oh, well, if Indiana Jones wears this type of boot, well, I got to get one, and this, that, and the other. Yep. So I get, the accuracy. And then to have, it's like getting a toy at Christmas without the batteries. You're all excited, everything looks great, and you can't do the one thing to complete the look, the piece, whatever. So that's what would annoy me as a cosplayer. Like if I was going to go out in a costume, me, probably not. If anything, maybe Darth Vader. And that way,
right? And at least with that, you're not wearing any kind of accessory that has a trigger and a barrel.
Yeah.
You would have to have a very, very overreactionary cop to stop a Darth Vader costumer and say, "Show me that lightsaber." Like that would be beyond the pale at this point. But still, you know what? 2021 is on the way, so.
Well, it's going to be hopefully a better year than 2020, because 2020 has been a shit year overall.
And I know you're a big fan of common sense, Michael.
Yeah, I am. I really am.
And I gotta say this though, I don't care if you've ever seen one of the Star Wars movies. If you see somebody dressed like a stormtrooper in front of an open comic book store, don't you think that's a bit overreactive?
It absolutely is. It absolutely is.
Like I said, even if it's the first guy, the second guy should have been like, come on.
I am not, by putting it on the other side of the costumer, I am not in any way trying to absolve.
No, I'm not.
I know that. But the common sense, unfortunately, has to be reserved for people who haven't gone crazy. And so in this sense, what I'm saying is the person in the stormtrooper outfit is out there on Star Wars Day, right? If they have more common sense than the crazy society we're living in now, like I was talking about with just costuming in general, it's all about self-preservation. And it's like, okay, nobody else has common sense anymore. I have common sense, but I don't trust their lack of common sense. So I'm going to add another layer of common sense onto my common sense and just not carry the thing because everyone else is a loon.
In the words of Sam Kinison, I like the way you think.
Yeah. And again, not absolving them at all for their overreaction. If we wanted to modify this a little bit, it might have been smarter for this individual to suit up in the comic shop and stay in the comic shop while doing the costuming, and then breaking it all down before they walked back the long walk to their car or wherever the heck they were coming from. That could have helped. Because that's where we live now as a culture, unfortunately. Common sense is out the window for 90% of the bystanders that we're around. They're still the people that were stopping this person probably say lifesaver instead of lightsaber. Okay, so it's frustrating.
These are the people who attack a woman's opinion on Twitter. Even like for saying, oh, you're just a sexist. You don't know what you're talking about. You just don't like women. I am one. And by you attacking my opinion, you are actually being the sexist. So.
Right.
So, Tom, yesterday you guys. Well, hold on. Let me read a few of the super chats that rolled in, and then we'll talk about it because this was one of the bigger topics about Leslye Headland. It got officially announced. We also have Taika Waititi news. And there's all kinds of stuff going on internally at Disney. And I don't know if you guys had a chance, but I listened to the investor call today, or at least a part of it. Did you guys?
No, I didn't. I did hear that their stocks went down another 2 or 3 points or whatever it was.
Yeah, I think they lost already $1 billion on the theme parks, according to IGN reported this as well. So it was.
I'm saying since the meeting or whatever, it went down. It was above 100 before the meeting, and now it was down to 98 the last time I looked.
We'll get right into that. We have a couple. First off, Dr. Coffin Nails. Thank you very much. He says, rock hard crotch balloons, a Star Wars story. Now, if you're wondering where rock hard crotch balloons come from, you'll have to join us over on Mindless Entertainment for Mad Libs. We did an entire Star Wars Mad Lib book. Maybe one of these weeks on the High Council, I'll read one to you guys. It gets kind of raunchy, but they're fun. The Fixer, thank you very much. He says, I have my Calc 2 exam tomorrow. I'm so nervous that I think I'm going to have a heart attack or a stroke from stress. I'll have to pass with at least a B. Well, The Fixer, I wish you the best of luck. I am not a math man myself, so calculus is out of my wheelhouse. Tom, Michael, Mecca, calculus. Any advice for a friend the fixer?
No.
Get a calculator.
I got to pre-calculus, and my guidance counselor said, "You're going into your senior year and don't have to take math." And Michael, you're getting worse and worse at it. You should take a break. And then when I went to college, I chose the one major at Syracuse University that did not require math as a prerequisite. The one major, and that was film. So I'm very, very bad at math. I have no advice, unfortunately.
I always pegged you because the way your videos are and they're so fact heavy. I assumed you would have been the best at math on the panel.
Oh no. As a matter of fact, Melinda and I like to watch the British comedy show 8 out of 10 Cats Do Countdown, which is a math and word conundrum thing, and it's a comedy show with Jimmy Carr. And the math stuff is where they do a bunch of random numbers, and then they have a master number that you have to use those other numbers to try and mathematically get to exactly. And Melinda will sit there and just be like, "Oh yeah, you do this, and this, and this, and this, and there it is." And I'm sitting there going, "I'm just going to have another Oreo. Like, I don't know anything about how to do this."
Yeah, I'm just confused listening to you talk about it. So
yeah. It took me 10 episodes just to figure out how to describe it.
Matt G, thank you very much for your super chat. He says Ahsoka is a better character than any of the clowns in the Disney trilogy. Yeah, I agree. I like Ahsoka. Is there all of a sudden, Tom, Mech, I know you guys follow some of the Twitter drama more than I do, but is there like an online pushback against Ahsoka? Has something happened to the character, or has Ashley Eckstein said something? Or
Ahsoka. Well, I know it was against Rosario Dawson for a minute there, but I don't remember.
Well, that was just because of the Q stuff. But yeah, I mean, there was a bit of a pushback at first because I remember like Jeremy and all of us saying something about it, but not that I know of. I mean, there was the deal with the Clone Wars cartoon.
What happened?
Where they were saying Ahsoka Mary Suit again. Because there's been a group of people who feel like Ahsoka's nothing but a Mary Sue. She was like the Mary Sue before Rey. So there's kind of a small division in the group. I don't watch the show, so I don't really care. I mean,
yeah.
But I guess she had a big fight with Darth Maul, and there was just some chain of events. But I guess from what I know, the last few episodes came back around, so I can't speak to it too much because I haven't seen it. But that was the rumor I've been hearing.
I want to catch up. Michael, have you watched Clone Wars at all, or you just don't care?
I enjoyed Clone Wars as a series. My friends convinced me to watch it, and I have all of it on Blu-ray except the stuff that's on Disney Plus.
Same
and
here.
And unless they release it on disc, I will not be seeing it unless a friend has it on over at his house or something, or her house. I will not be watching it. Again, it's not an active boycott, but just more of a, I don't want to give Disney that kind of IV into my bank account. So sorry.
Yeah, as Modart, she says they did Mary Sue her again. She's a great character on her own, but the writers can't help themselves anymore.
Do you think there's an internal push at Lucasfilm to, do that with the character? Because
on KK side, more likely, yeah.
Because remember, folks, I'm coming in with, when I talk about the Clone Wars, I watched all of it, and then whatever was on Netflix that extra season, and that's it. And then I take it back, and then the first episode of the new shit. I know they've gone back and changed certain things. I've heard it was canceled because it was too expensive, because it was too violent. There's many different things, but I don't follow modern Clone Wars. I should, and I haven't seen a single minute of Rebels outside of a couple clips where they're doing a helicopter with the lightsaber for some reason. So whatever, but. Yeah, I was wondering because I've seen a lot of Ahsoka talk. I'm also seeing how great the Clone Wars finale was, which I just feel left out. One day,
there's a few people who said the last 4 episodes are great too. So,
but yeah, it just seems like there's an edict when you have these, and I hate to use the phrase "the strong women character," but it's like that's the phrase Hollywood uses, and then it's no longer strong. It's unrealistically strong. It's not. You put a character. You could have more resilient characters. That wouldn't be an issue. Like I like McClane. He should have died like 5 times in Die Hard, but they also don't show him as impervious to pain. Like He even taps out in the middle of the movie. He's like, I'm not going to make it. Tell my wife I love her. And, the guy's like, no, you're going to tell her yourself. They just don't write these. Even if you put these characters with these, like, superhuman abilities, like a Star Wars character out there, you got to show them as human. They don't. They show them as caricatures. And the Clone Wars didn't do that previously. So hopefully they haven't done that now.
Well, I saw a bunch of my friends raving about the latest episodes. They have Disney Plus, and they were raving about them. And they're longtime fans. I picked it up later, but apparently, like Ahsoka's standing in the desert, and this lady comes by, and she says, "Who are you?" And she says, "I'm Ahsoka Windu." And then the whole thing ends, and it's supposed to be really heart wrenching. It's great.
Michael, did you get a chance? If you do have a chance, I had an interview with a former Lucasfilm employee. He was working for the original Clone Wars series on Cartoon Network.
I listened to that. Yes, I listened to that. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I was just saying, if you haven't heard it, check it out, because I thought Russell was an awesome guest, and I'm working to do more of that behind the scenes, because it was fun hearing stories that nobody else can get.
Yeah, it was a really cool interview. I was like, whoa, Jeff's really, he's gotten the inside access. I was visualizing you disguised as an old man pushing a big crate into a big warehouse, hoping nobody spotted you, and coming out with an employee. So that was cool.
It's funny how you meet people with connections out here. Like, you're not even trying to. Like, I met that dude at a birthday party for somebody else, and we talked about Star Wars for like 4 hours straight.
He wasn't the birthday clown, was he? Like, he wasn't, on the skids or anything, was he?
No.
Oh, okay.
He was all on the up and up, but he's a great dude. Folks, if you haven't watched that interview, go back and check it out. And if you're looking for some of our long-form videos and live streams, they're being archived over on our secondary channel, GMPC, Good Morning Pop Culture, just for the sake of the algorithm. That way we can do all these videos as well as regular videos, and still, YouTube won't penalize us. So there you go. If you're ever wondering why I do certain things, it's because I don't want to be penalized by YouTube. It's no fun. Logan Michael Anti-Funko Pop says, "Hail Retroblasting."
Oh, hey, hail.
And Logan Michael's an awesome dude. He's one of the listeners that always messages me, him and Salvador, but Salvador. He's like, "Hey, this is on pre-order right now. Go pick it up." So
it's funny. I have a surprising number of supporters that are named Logan. And so when I see the different Logans, sometimes I get them all confused, but I know there's a Logan Starro and a Logan Michaels and it's like, wow, there's a lot of Logans here. I wonder if Hugh Jackman is somewhere in the audience as well.
we can hope. I would be really excited if Hugh Jackman listened.
Under the name Logan, that'd be funny.
These fucking guys, they keep cracking me up.
Oh, I love Retroblasting.
Retroblasting is the best.
I find it funny that
I'm gonna sing a song about him.
Do you guys remember the Pride of the X-Men, how Wolverine had an Australian accent and everybody made fun of him for it?
Yes.
And now in real life, the guy that plays him, used to play him, has that same terrible Australian accent. Art imitates life. Thank you, Tom, from Midnight's Edge After Dark. He sent in a super chat that says, "'Cause you got Michael." That is all.
Yeah. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that.
This guy's got a great name. Harry P. Ness says, "Mike is the greatest. He's like the Cecil equivalent of canon. It's a pleasure to hear y'all interact."
Oh, cool.
Go Big Boar, Go Home says, "The name of the gun, Han Solo's blaster, is based on the Mauser C96. They did have a nickname. It did have the nickname of the broom handle."
Yeah, C96. It's. I believe it's also the 1896 Mauser. I believe is the date stamp.
And then we're going to get back into the show, but we're going to read this last one from Straight White Mail. Thank you very much. Thank you to everybody so far tonight, folks. We'll get to all these. Is it me? It's me, the bank robber from last time. Email frozen85@protonmail.com if you want stories. I'd love to come on and tell you. Well, I'm going to take a picture of your message right now, Straight White Mail, and we'll talk. We'll definitely talk. I'll get back with you from the official WCBS email. And if folks, if you're trying to contact us, I saw the chat. It's worldclassbs@mail.com, thebestmail.com. So yesterday was May the 4th. Everyone was all excited. Everyone was, on the Star Wars train. And then we had some official news come out. Now, Tom, if you would, because you guys had a really awesome stream over on Midnight's Edge, could you tell everyone what the official announcement with Leslye Headland was about?
Oh, well, burying the news that Taika Waititi is officially on board to direct a Star Wars film, Leslye Headland had to hedge her way into this news, and they're like, Academy Award winner Taika Waititi to direct a Star Wars movie. Oh yeah, and Leslye Headland's getting her damn series. Like that was like in the subtitle of the title there in the header there, whatever you call it. And then later on that evening, she got her whole paragraph added to it. So yeah, we were waiting to see what Disney had to say. I guess they're allowing this monstrosity to go through. And of course, we reiterated again why it was such a bad idea. We went through a lot of her past issues, and Geeky Candy, who's done a lot of great digging, keeps finding in older interviews with her where she says all kinds of wonderful things about Daddy Harvey. Yeah.
Well, did you guys cover? I'm curious. Did you cover this 2 minutes with Leslye Headland interview where she's a completely different person?
I haven't even heard of it because I'll be honest, her information, her story is weird to me.
I may have seen it. It depends.
She's a completely different person. She, like, if I hear her talk in this, I want her to do Star Wars. She's a completely different person. She says all the right things. She says, like, yeah, I want to have a movie that's quotable. I want to be the next movie that's quotable.
Oh, yeah, I saw this. Actually, I didn't like her in this one.
Oh, and then she's like, no, I don't want just another, perfect female character who's perfect and she just doesn't have a man in her life. It's like, that's exactly who I would want doing Star Wars. What the hell happened?
Well, this is actually 2015 when this is dropped. Lord knows when the actual interview. I listened to this interview and I didn't get quite that feeling out of it. Do we want to share it? Or
she was an opportunist, so I guess that's what I was having in the back of my head when I was listening to this, is because she says all of the right things to the right group of people. She reminds me of somebody who's going to be the biggest SJW in a room full of SJWs, and put her in a room full of guys in MAGA hats, and she is going to be the loudest Trump supporter in that room. She's just going to flip depending on what side of the room. She is a female Harvey Weinstein.
Well, that's the real issue with how business is done in Hollywood anyway. Because and now it's increasingly there's increasing evidence, as we've seen, that attitude has now been drawn across political lines, whereas 10 15 years ago it was just simply everybody in the room is fake, everybody in the room is going to tell you exactly what you want to hear, then they're going to go across the street and tell the other person the opposite of what you think, but it's what that person wants to hear. She's out for herself, like most of these egomaniacs in Hollywood, and that was the thing that shocked me the most. Was it didn't shock me, but it's so overt in the sense of if this really is a what do you want to call it, a philosophical, ideological mandate from Kathleen Kennedy, if this really is a worldview that's so strong with her that she's bringing it into the workplace and bringing it into her projects in film, then why on earth would she turn around and hire this person who came out of, we all know, the W company? Because it completely erodes immediately everything that she claims to stand for. Is it Hollywood at work again? Can they not get out of their own way? I guess so. It's weird to me.
They're always going to get in their own way. I mean,
yeah.
Well, she's got all the right moving parts so that she can't be. She technically should be shielded from any kind of retribution or backlash or anything like that. But we're not that dumb.
Well, I have a question for you. How much of a learning, how much of a cautionary tale do you think Rian Johnson's experience was with fans? Do you think Lucasfilm took note of how he spoke and how he interacted with the fans, and they basically passed some of it on to Leslye Headland? Do you think that Rian Johnson's interactions will be regarded as like it's like a book? It's like, hey, here you go. Here's the guide on not how to deal with the fans type of thing.
I think they think so little of us that they aren't going to probably care if they lose fans or not, because they probably figure we're just going to complain about it anyway, so it doesn't matter what we say. We're just toxic man babies. And
according to that one guy, Kathy did say that
Mhm.
we're 50-year-olds who like Star Wars.
We're all
the
just
best.
50-year-old old fans, Yeah.
As far as what you were saying, Jeff, I don't think they've really cared, because if they cared about Rian Johnson and other people speaking out against us, they would have done something about it by now, and they haven't. As far as Rian Johnson goes, you're looking at Rian Johnson 2.0 right here. The only thing I can't say so far is I have not necessarily seen her lash out on anybody on social media yet. But I do remember her little announcement from Disney inviting her to the family had a lot of Harvey Weinstein pictures and memes attached to it. So I can't imagine that this is not going to haunt them going into this. I don't understand how they just didn't let this one go, like the whole Rian Johnson thing. Because again, here we go. We've got another new announcement for more stuff, kind of like what Michael was saying. But I didn't hear Rian Johnson's name in there. Did you?
Thankfully not. I mean, he commented on this new series. I read from Screen Rant. I think, Mecca, you might have sent that over. But other than that, I don't know Rian Johnson really doesn't have much to add.
Well, yeah, he commented on.
I say that because they list all the stuff that's in there, and I don't remember seeing Rian Johnson's trilogy being mentioned. Was what I was saying.
But he was basically saying, yes, Taika Waititi is great for this, and I'm like, oh well, that's even more negative against him if Rian Johnson's on board.
Let's be honest, Rian Johnson's trilogy was never going to happen. We had to keep hearing it was going to happen as a way to tell us, to keep us all quiet. All these the toxic fan base. But the thing is, we kind of have our ear to the ground on a lot of these things. And why, as a company, would you ever want to put out a sequel, a trilogy dedicated to the man who is essentially poison to Star Wars? I'm trying to find a good reason why you would ever move that project forward, and the answer is there isn't one. So
I wouldn't think there is one from Bob Iger and Bob Chapek's perspective. However, this end tail move on Kathleen Kennedy's part, which is by every analysis I've listened to, is that's what it was a calculated move to paint them into a corner. You would think with that move that Chapek and Iger would be even more hell bent to not let a Rian Johnson follow up go forward, because they wouldn't want this disease to spread, so to speak. They'd say, okay, look, we got rope-a-doped on this one right here, but we can't let anything else happen. We got to we got to turn the spotlights on this and watch the fences. But they haven't. It's weird. It's like they're out to lunch on Lucasfilm. They keep missing the target.
Yeah, the problem is there's two different camps in Lucasfilm. From what we've heard
about them
over and over. Well, you have the Lucas loyalists, and then you have the KK loyalists.
So who are some of the Lucas loyalists? Do you know? Is that Dave Filoni still? Or?
I would assume Dave Filoni's probably one of them. Other than that, it's kind of up in the air. I mean, some of them we clearly know who aren't, and those are the ones that speak out against us online and stuff like that, because that's what we hear is those who are the secret loyalists are the ones who agree with most of us, and that is they're destroying the canon. They don't give a crap about the canon. It's where a lot of the leaks started to originate from, and the more and more we hear, between the toy business, between, the Disney, the Galaxy's Edge business we just learned last week, around the same time of all this stuff. Like, again, like a lot of this stuff keeps dropping, and it's just like, how much longer before we really start hearing the truth? And more we hear, the more and more it sounds like all, because we've been called liars, and Jeff, because you two have dealt with it, with all the toy business, because even every time we bring up the toys, we get bombarded with it, so I imagine you do too.
Oh, I stopped reading the comments on the toys, and I make the videos. It's like, hey, I found 5-year-old merchandise. No, you didn't.
And Michael, you handle mostly retro toys, so you luck out on that part, I suppose, most of the time. But I'm sure there's still enough assholes just whenever you do anything Star Wars and you say any opinion about it.
Oh yeah, and I've been trying to get some choice figures from this new Empire Strikes Back 40th collection that are be coming in soon, and I'll do what I call a modern musing. It's a series on modern toys, very off the cuff. and I'll probably get hate for that too. I mean, I was overly complimentary about some of the modern stuff when I did a big Rogue One series, but to hear all the commenters, not all the commenters, but a good number of the commenters tell it, I hate everything modern Star Wars. And I'm like, where were you for that hour? Because that was like a 2-parter that I did over the course of an hour. And I said a lot of positive stuff. So,
I remember that one.
Yeah.
That was back when I just watched your stuff and we didn't really meet properly.
Right.
Because I looked at a lot of that Rogue One stuff and I thought to myself, how the hell is this ever really going to move? I mean, it didn't, but...
No, it didn't.
And it's funny, too. Like, I always make this point in all the toy videos. They always go back. You said, Michael, Empire Strikes Back 40th anniversary, something you're looking forward to. They always go back to the stuff that's guaranteed. I mean, if you go to Hasbro's website right now and you look up their Star Wars stuff, it's... I'd say 90% OT.
Yeah, because they can't sell the other stuff.
No,
I'm sure that you know, Lucasfilm's other camp is desperate for them to start, you know, putting out figures of that little lampshade-headed droid and stuff like that. And it's like that stuff doesn't move. Nobody wants it. And again, I've talked to my own detriment about Hasbro's problems just as an organization anyway. So you can imagine Hasbro is already pretty much on autopilot when it comes to their action figure lines as it is. And they have the problem compounded with Lucasfilm because all they've got to really lean on is original trilogy and a few choice things from Clone Wars that they know will sell. Otherwise, they're DOA when it comes to anything coming out of the Disney Lucasfilm think tank.
Well, yeah, I'm convinced that the only reason we didn't see a buttload of Baby Yoda stuff is because the licensees were like, they weren't interested.
Yeah,
I really think that's the case.
Yeah, they were hedging their bets just like they did back in 1977. You know, except this time they knew what Star Wars. That's the funny part. In 1977. Palatoy, Kenner, they were all like, we don't know what this Star Wars thing is, but we're not going to really stick our necks out there because, you know, movie merchandise doesn't do well. Now in 2020, it's Star Wars. I ain't sticking my neck out there for this. You know, how the times have changed. And then Mandalorian becomes a bigger hit than they anticipated, and now they're rushing to meet demand.
Yeah, because all they had was a Mandalorian doll and an IG-88. And, of course, their excuse is, we wanted to keep it hidden. And even Anna and a few other people who have, you know,
bullshit.
been around that kind of stuff before said bullshit. She's like, it takes exactly roughly 4 to 5 months to get something from concept to the shelf. And that's the exact number we're looking at now. And, of course, you know, the current climate has pushed some things back. But, well, we're starting to get Baby Yoda stuff. Here we are in the middle of May.
Yeah, but I will say this. They have this window, this grace period, if you will. If this season 2 stuff, if season 2 doesn't hit the way the first season did, you're going to find a lot of Baby Yoda stuff on clearance.
Oh, yeah. We'll get to that point.
Yeah, the cute factor can only account for so much. And then it's like, you know what? I'm not getting my fill elsewhere.
Well, it's kind of like James Gunn knew. Baby Groot was only going to be so cute for so long. They knew just how much to milk that. They didn't overdo it, not quite, at least in most people's eyes, I'd imagine. I'm sure there's somebody who's going to be like, I fucking hate Baby Groot, but, you know, there's always one of those guys, you know. But, I mean, if you do, you do. But I feel like they handled that pretty well. If Disney's smart, you're right, Jeff. They hopefully won't pound this so deep into the ground, because I can see it already for season 2. The Baby Yoda merch is going to be just everywhere. Like, we're going to have a shit ton of it, I bet.
Yeah, I think I really enjoyed The Mandalorian a lot. It was my favorite Disney property or Disney Star Wars thing to come out. But, you know, we've seen this before with like Rogue One. Michael, you remember when the hype for Rogue One was out or up high, people were out there buying this stuff and then it wore off quickly.
Yep.
You know, you brought up the parallel to 1977. As you know, Kenner, I don't have to explain it to you, but for the audience, Kenner didn't have merchandise for Christmas 77. It came out early 78. But I mean,
early bird holiday special.
Oh my God. Yeah. That little package. And you got your little, you filled out your certificate and you got your figures, your Chewbacca, your Han, not Chewbacca, Han, your Chewbacca, your Luke, your R2 and Leia. And then you move forward and then there's a huge toy line of Star Wars that kept coming out. We live in an era where I want it now. And if it's not available now, then I don't ever want it. So, I mean, they're just riding the wave right now. And if season 2 doesn't deliver, I don't expect there to be too much in the way of Mandalorian stuff. It'll be like, oh, we had this, and then we're going to slowly close up shop with the Mandalorian and move back to Darth Vader and Boba Fett, because that always sells.
Well, people's idea also now of what constitutes a lot of product for a toy line is very different than it was even 15 years ago. I was talking to a few people about Mandalorian a few weeks ago online, and I said, yeah, it's like one figure of the bounty hunter himself that nobody can find, the IG-11 guy, and this scout walker. That's it. And somebody else chimed in and they were like, well, no, they've come out with that troop transport now. And it had just been announced like the day before. And I'm like, okay, great. 2 small-ish to medium-ish size vehicles and 1 to 2 figures for the whole line. You think that constitutes a lot? Like, you're using that as your defense? This is the hill you're going to die on to my claim that there isn't a lot of product out there? They've become starved for product to the point that if Hasbro lets the tap drip, they feel like they're getting a glass of water.
Well, I mean, you've seen a lot of the new stuff that's coming out, and I mean, fans clamor for Luke Skywalker in his orange jumpsuit. We keep getting that. We keep getting these things. So, and Hasbro knows what sells. How come we don't ever see a re-release of Rose Tico? I know the answer.
Like the guy from Diamond says, are those really popular characters? When asked about a lot of the new ones, yeah. Sorry, Mike.
No. I was just gonna say it's because even if you just boiled it, how many characters can we remember from the original trilogy that weren't really even in the movie, but we loved the action figure because the costume was cool, and we bought the action figure because the character just looked cool. And that's what it keeps boiling down to me. I sit there and I go, you know what? Kelly Marie Tran's character could have had the exact same lines, the exact same scenes, and the exact same lack of agency in that movie identically. But if she had had a better hairstyle and been in a much better costume, that action figure would have sold better.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Marginally, but probably, yeah.
Marginally, yes, but for the purposes of people who are completists, and there are a lot of Star Wars collector completists, right?
No, I think you're right. If it gets the Boba Fett factor going or something like that, you're right.
Right, and that, yes, the character should have been better written, absolutely. But just on an aesthetic level, it's not an action figure. That would be the last thing that you would pick aesthetically if you didn't know anything about the movie and you looked at a lineup of all the characters in promo photos. You'd go, yeah, nah. Like,
the Rose Tico action set, Zap Deserters.
That was what Rian Johnson wanted. You know, he chose her because let's put a character who shouldn't belong in a Star Wars movie. I can't remember if he was talking about the character or the actress, but I think it was the character, actually.
Yeah, the thing is, and I don't think you disagree with me on this, Mecca, is that Rian Johnson doesn't need to be anywhere near the marketing decisions on that kind of thing. He needs someone turning the screws on him. I just saw Knives Out, and Melinda and I were laughing because while it's certainly better than him being in a franchise, the whole movie was mismarketed as a whodunit.
Yeah.
And you sit there within the first 10 minutes and you go, wait a minute, this is a howdunit, not a whodunit. And I'm like, only Rian Johnson would think in his mind, because in interviews, he's like, it's like a classic whodunit. And it's like, no, it's not. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right, because they tell you who did it in the first 5 minutes of the movie, and then it's just it just unfolds in and then what happens because of it.
Right. His marketing instincts are broken.
Yeah.
And so somebody needed to pull him to the side during the costume process and say, hey, this ain't gonna fly.
The whole new Star Wars needed better costume. I mean, aside from maybe some of the Kylo Ren stuff, which looks kind of okay to me, I don't like Rey's costume. I think she looks way too generic.
Right.
And
JJ can't sell toys.
Yeah.
He couldn't sell Star Trek toys.
Right.
No.
Well, the sad thing about the Star Trek toys, I guess because they came from Playmates, they still have the license for some reason. They were so lame, just bland. I couldn't imagine. They lacked articulation. They were just, I don't know. As somebody who thought that movie was cool when it first came out and could have, conceivably picked up the main crew, I was like, these toys suck. Yeah, they offered nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, did you love that bridge play set with its plastic matte floor that unfolds, and then you set all the other pieces up on it like it's some board game from the 70s or something. I mean, it was just a joke.
Well, I mean, Michael, you put
that
out
was
that
really in
video.
a modern toy that wasn't like a retro toy. You're serious?
Yeah, I'm serious. That you got a piece of the bridge of the J.J. Abrams Enterprise with each figure you bought, and then one of the characters came with, or maybe it was the bridge screen accessory came with the mat that unfolded, and it was literally,
oh Jesus,
yeah, that's a piece of plastic matting right there that just lays out, and you fold it up and put it in your back pocket. You could probably use it as a Kleenex if you wanted to.
I think that the one that you had on your one review was better, actually, Michael, to be honest with you.
Oh,
from the classic toy line,
the blow molded one. Yeah, the Mego blow molded one. Yeah,
the blue one. Yeah.
Well, there are so many problems with this bridge anyway. Ugh.
Oh well, sure, yeah, but no, you're right, Tom. The motion picture one with the white plastic from the 70s was better than that.
I mean, I just remember seeing these in the store. None of these really look like the actors.
Spock looks like Ellen DeGeneres.
They look like the knockoff versions, like that you would find at a dollar store that were supposed to look like Star Trek characters, but didn't come out quite right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think Eric Bana kind of looks like Eric Bana.
Eric Bana's not bad, and what's his face as Sulu isn't horrible, but the rest are just
John Cho. The worst one is probably, I don't know, Simon Pegg doesn't look like Simon Pegg.
Yeah,
old Spock looks horrid too.
He's too pinched in his face.
Well, he looks like what's his face, the old guy that the ventriloquist. I always forget his damn name. Jeff Dunham.
Yeah.
What's the old guy on his
Walter?
Walter. He looks just like Walter.
Well, also just the stupid choices here. You've got them doubling up on Spock when what you really need is Chekhov in there to complete the group. And why aren't McCoy and Uhura in their bridge outfits for the first run? Whatever.
I mean, people think this is nerds complaining about the minutia, but these are the things that make me wonder what these people that have the license.
Well, and those are the things that made the
You'd
toys
want them
not
to
sell.
match.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd want them to match. You'd want the entire complete set. Like, this ridiculous.
If I was in one of those meetings at a toy company where they were pitching the product that was going to go into this line, and somebody suggested we're going to have 9 figures and 2 of them are going to be 2 different Spocks, I would reach under the boardroom table, pick up a waffle iron, a full waffle iron, and just throw it at that person. Like,
can you highlight this comment up here, Jeff? Andrew Cole. Why don't people just go to McFarlane Toys? They did.
Yeah, I'll show that real quick.
It was just a little ways up. Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah, McFarlane Toys. They've had the license for years. They couldn't get nothing to sell because of the new Star Trek crap. The only stuff they've been able to do is classic Star Trek. And as far as we know, they've allowed the license to lapse because they couldn't sell anything other than this kind of stuff.
This is the one that had the Michael Burnham one, right? Did that ever get made?
I don't think it did.
No, only Captain Kirk and Picard got made because I bought these 2 hoping that the next set, which they announced was Spock and What's-Her-Face, which I was never going to buy. I was going to try to get the original crew and maybe the Next Generation people because I like Jonathan Frakes, but they stopped, which sucks because these are really good-looking toys. Like, this doesn't do it justice in person. It's got that weird, like, slightly translucent skin paint, and it looks just really good in person. That's all I can say. It's a really good-looking toy. But
yeah, that secondary picture looks like it's in better light than that other one.
No, they really just screwed the brand with these new shows that are just these corporate buyout takeover sort of things.
They literally killed a $20 to $40 million a year franchise with these new shows.
And you can't think that these shows are making that much money.
That's all right.
No, the new ones aren't making shit. They have nothing.
They don't have they have our badges and t-shirts and shit.
Shit that you can get off of their website that they make, themselves.
Yeah.
Nothing that's licensed. And I'm not even sure if did that Funko Pop ever get made yet?
I don't believe so. Let me look. I don't think it has actually.
They finally had announced that they had announced the 2 Funko Pops, but you know how Funko Pops work. If they don't get enough pre-orders, they don't make them.
Why would you want them to be made anyway?
Exactly.
The Funko Pops.
No, but I'm just saying that's the closest that they've come to this point. Yeah, that they've gotten
pre-order
to a license. Other than, and I think the only other one was the Michael Burnham bust, but I think that wound up being a Comic-Con exclusive.
You're dealing with people who are now running these franchises, and these franchises were all unique in the sense that whether you're talking about Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, they supported merchandise in a way that had never been seen in other franchises. And the people who've taken them over, they aren't the type of people who buy merchandise. They aren't the type of people who understand sci-fi. They don't respect it. They don't respect the fan base that they inherited. They want them gone. They want to court fans of other these that don't buy merch, and they want to bring them in. It's still, to me, a fantasy, whoever they're thinking about. I don't know who they want for these audiences, but they're the worst people you can imagine to shepherd a franchise into a new merchandising era, because they don't understand it.
No, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made a prop phaser from San Diego Comic-Con last year for Star Trek Discovery, and that looks like it was about it.
Was that the one that they originally canceled?
The phaser, well, it was a Comic-Con exclusive. They actually
That's what I'm wondering, if they made it as exclusive because they quit producing. Or was that who did that one?
Let's see. Somebody has it on eBay here. I'll show it to you. Well, I'll link it here. It's I think it was just a Comic-Con exclusive. You know, they'll make a few prototypes or whatever, right?
That's what I'm saying. I'm thinking it was what they had left over from when they were going to release it, if it was McFarlane. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's the people they're trying to attract right there in that
Convention
picture.
Exclusive. Who made this?
People who have no time for R2-D2. See, they're just ignoring him. They're into their own phones.
Well, the funny thing is, that is a very true statement. But then you talk about, that's the audience they're trying to court. Look what they're making and hoping that this audience buys. Vintage packaged Hot Toys with classic Kenner colors. First off, most Star Wars fans that they're trying to court today don't even know what the hell Kenner was. Second, they're going to look at this Boba Fett and go, that's a cool colored Boba Fett. They have no affinity for that when Boba Fett looked like that in merchandise. And then the box art means nothing. The racing stripes mean nothing. Like, it's just, I don't know. We want to sell to these people, but we don't want to cater the movies to those people. It's messed up.
Well, and also Hasbro just did this color scheme on their Black Series San Diego Comic-Con exclusive last year. So all these companies now are creatively inbred. All the different licensees, they're just all running on the same carousel. You know, give me a ride on that pink colored pony, and you go take the blue pony for a while, and then we'll switch. And it's like there needs to be. Okay, I'm rambling here for a minute, but I finally found my thought. 15 years ago, when the Clone Wars was on, it wasn't my thing because I liked it, but I was aged out of all the toys. But if you looked at the actual merchandise that was being sold for Clone Wars, barring large play sets, which had long been dead, Clone Wars had some of the biggest vehicles, some of the most prolific amounts of figures that had ever been put out for a TV show or a movie over the course of several years. And it's a very, very impressive line of product and undeniably popular on the secondhand market. All of that has dried up conceptually at the studio and at the manufacturing level. I guess my point in saying that is there isn't an excuse, except they just don't want to do it because they've done it before and it hasn't been 30 years. It's been maybe a decade, maybe.
Well, I mean, they got to milk us on that 40th anniversary nostalgia for Empire.
Yeah, I'll just watch the movie, I think.
But that's like, you know what? I love Empire Strikes Back. You know that, Jeff. I love Empire Strikes Back almost as much as I love Lawrence of Arabia. They're probably one and the same. But, dude, do you really want to hear Pour Some Sugar on Me again? I mean, like
I've said the same thing.
when I go to a Def Leppard concert, I've been 2 or 3 times. Every now and then I go, could you just play one thing from Adrenalize? Just one thing? Maybe Heaven Is. I love Heaven Is.
Did they ever play Two Steps Behind?
I think they did. Well, good question, Tom. I don't know. more likely no than yes.
See, I know what you're saying. That's like I had
that for like the most fair weather fan who only knows the one big hit. You know, like the same thing with Devo. They'll play Whip It even though like 90% of their stuff and 90% of their fans, 99% of their fans are hardcore fans. So
yeah, so if you've got the Hot Toys Boba Fett and you've got the Vintage Collection Boba Fett and you've got the Vintage Boba Fett and you've got the Funko Pop Boba Fett and you've got, are you really going to go in for this one that's 6-inch Hot Toys Boba Fett and you've got the SH Figure Arts Boba Fett? By now, if you're still buying Boba Fett after Boba Fett, you have a sickness. Or you're just very easily entertained.
Well, it was... go ahead, Mike.
I'm just saying because this right here, this kind of stuff, this is pour some sugar on me for the 250th time. That's what this is.
No, I think you're right. And it actually goes back to the point I think I made it on this last week's show. I think, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, where I said Star Wars merchandise has gotten so bad where you almost have to pick a character now. You can't like collect all of it, obviously. You either have to pick a line or a character. And it's gotten that bad with some of these collections too. But you're right. It's like, how many times can you buy Boba Fett over and over and over and over again? Type in like Darth Vader collection. You'll probably find 10 guys who have, you know,
entire
a
house
room,
full.
a house full of Darth Vader stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I've seen the I've seen the pictures of some of these collections, and you know, to each their own. There's no actual judgment going on, but I do raise an eyebrow. I do wonder how can you love collecting the same thing? It reminds me of Mel Gibson in Conspiracy Theory, where every bookstore he goes in, he just buys Catcher in the Rye. And he has like 450 copies of the same book just in his house. And I'm going, wow.
No, I think that's a very good point, though. I mean, it's great to be a fan, and nobody's discouraging, you know, any kind of hobbies or anything like that, like you're saying. I totally get that. But you're right. You got to stop at some point. You got to say, look, I have a problem, or I am part of the problem.
Right. Because
and that's, what I did with Star Wars in a lot of ways, too. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. You're fine.
Well, I'm guilty with my entire Axel Foley collection of 2 pieces of merchandise.
Right? No shit. Yeah. Nobody could ever bitch at me and Jeff for our Bill and Ted or fucking Beverly Hills Cop or anything like that collection. I mean, Bill and Ted has some things, but there's nothing Beverly Hills Cop out there.
There's a Hot Wheels set. There's 2 Hot Wheels cars, 2 Funko Pops, and then nothing else. And I take it back. A fan made me a custom Axel Foley, which was awesome. And then Nick got me this bootleg Banana and the Tailpipe action figure set. Other than that, that's about it.
Oh, yeah? Well, I'm a MacGyver fan, and they haven't made dick, so there.
Which is weird, because you think MacGyver would kind of lend itself perfectly.
You would think.
To the toy line.
No,
like MacGyver
didn't have anything for years either. For a lot of years until recently with Comic-Con. And luckily, I got the giant Fizz gig. But no, there wasn't a lot of Dark Crystal or Fraggle Rock merch.
They did do it. I thought they did a Dark Crystal toy line when the movie came out.
They did one recently. Well. I know they did. They did one recently, and they had a lot of like San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. They looked really good. And then they've got one for the new show. They've got a few toys here and there, but yeah, they didn't do one. They didn't do many back in the day, back in the 80s.
You might be right.
I don't remember seeing it. If they did, I missed them, but.
By the way, folks, we have over 1,347 people watching. If you do us a favor, hit that thumbs up button to let us know that you enjoy the High Council. I guess we could call it the first, show of the Fandom Menace, because we've been around for over almost 2 years now, maybe 2 years at this point. Ethan and I got together early to mid 2018. Michael, we had our first interview about 2 years ago as well this time. So,
yep,
early 2018, man. That's when all these connections were starting to get made. It's an exciting time. So.
Well, that's when Tom brought me on to After Dark.
And I've learned to deal with the fact that I'm the Joe Pescopo of the High Council.
That's just because Rob has trivia on Tuesdays.
I want to be Eddie Murphy, but I haven't earned that status yet.
But hey, you were in Sidekicks, and that counts for something.
That movie needs a fucking Blu-ray.
It does. It does.
So I want to read some of the super chats because we got a lot coming in. I don't want the audience to think we're not paying attention. By the way, our next topic, we are going to talk about Taika Waititi's Star Wars and how, I don't think it'll ever get made. But anyway, moving forward. Degaz Rune, thank you very much. I don't think I've heard from you for a while. It says, at the AZ Comic-Con, they disallowed lightsabers, too much like real weapons. I think that's bullshit. What do you guys think? I mean, I believe you, DeGazru. I'm not saying that I'm thinking you're bullshit. I'm saying I think that's a bullshit policy because lightsabers are just plastic tubes.
It's been happening. It's been happening. They've gotten to the point where it's just like no more weapons of any kind, fictional or fake or inert or anything. They just want to blanket, like reduce the problem down to nothing because the organizers don't want to have to deal with the stress. So it's like no more weapons. And so when the sonic screwdriver gets labeled a weapon, then I'm out. You know, there's nothing I'll be able to do at that point. Maybe I'll just go as a turtle, just a generic, not a Ninja Turtle, just a generic turtle.
So Dana Carvey from The Master of Disguise?
Yes, that would be a deep cut.
Sonic's already a toy that's complete with a G-spot stimulator.
Well, especially that one, which looks like a melted Terminator finger.
It is. It's weird. It's an odd shape. I thought it was a sex toy. Okay.
By the way, folks, I'm joining the Jack Show tonight. They're having an impromptu episode over on Mindless Entertainment, and it's a drinking stream because it's Cinco de Mayo. So there's the chat link link in the chat, folks. It's going to be one of those nights. I don't know if you caught last week's Tom, but we had Ethan and Anna and John Malin on, and we ended up streaming for 5 hours. So we might top that tonight. So, folks, if you're looking for some extra fun after the High Council, you know where to go. One thing never mind. I don't know if I just said the point I was going to make. I'll say it again just to soothe my mind. But yeah, Celebration, at least they didn't have too many restrictions on guns. Anyway, moving forward. Harry P. Ness says, Mike, I know this is the High Council, but I want to know your thoughts on the Mad Max Ford Falcon. Best movie car ever, and I know you love the DeLorean.
Yeah, my favorite movie car of all time is not the DeLorean. My favorite movie car of all time is the 1987 Aston Martin Vantage from the Living Daylights.
Excellent.
That being said, I'll never be able to afford that car. So as Dirty Harry. I just made what?
Made Rob, I think, a little turned on because he loves Bond.
But man's got to know his limitations, and I don't think I'll ever own that. But I love the Ford Falcon from Mad Max. I'm a big Mad Max fan of the original films. As a matter of fact, when I took that sail barge over to Australia last year, the guys that I met there who were already Retroblasting supporters, they were really, really nice, and they spent the week just taking me to all these different places. And one of the places they took me to were all the Mad Max shooting locations from the original film, which was filmed around Melbourne. So yeah, the Interceptor is just awesome. Great car.
Now I'm looking up the 87 Aston Martin for sale. Everything is just inquire inside. So The funny thing though is Aston Martins from the Pierce, there's one Aston Martin that Pierce Brosnan drove, the newer one. He drove the DB5, but in Die Another Day he had the Vanquish. For a while, you could find that car for $30,000.
Yeah, and when I was in college, like undergraduate school, you could get the Dalton one for about $35,000-$45,000.
Oh God! Now we're talking six figs. So it's a beautiful car. I love that movie so much.
Yep, me too.
For the record, my favorite real car is the DeLorean in movies.
I can't fit into one, so
I don't know if I could either.
How tall are you?
6'5".
Okay, and how tall are you, Tom?
Oh, I'm short, but I'm big. I'm about as big as Jeff, just not as tall. My other favorite movie car that's not real, though, is the 89 Batmobile, just for the record.
Oh, yeah, that's a beautiful car. Yeah.
Was that built on a Ford chassis or something like that?
Something like that. They had 3 of them, I think it was. And they figured out, the funny thing was in the design, they didn't put a door in the damn thing. So that's where the top came from, where the top would...
Dude, who needs a door when you have a cockpit, okay?
Well, that's why they put it in there, because they realized they forgot the doors. And then they then realized that it was too short for Batman, so they had a special cowl for when he's in the Batmobile with short bat ears.
There's nothing worse than getting cockpit blocked. Man.
Exactly.
I'm just playing a quick game of mental gymnastics. Is there a Batmobile on film outside of Adam West's that has a door? Don't they all have cockpits?
Not anymore. I think they took that kind of and ran with it after that.
I mean, even I take it back. I guess Bat Pat's newest one has a door on it, but before that,
if you count the ragged out Packard from the movie serials in the 40s, maybe.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they just had a regular car. Yeah.
Right.
Bruce Wayne lets us borrow his car.
The other car. He boosted the Jag. No, sir. The other
car.
I'm not going to try to convince anyone in the chat, but Batman Forever is not as bad as everyone makes it out.
No, it was all right. I would still be interested in seeing what Tim Burton had in mind for us, but I loved when he told the story about when he realized they didn't want him to do the third one, which I'm sure you've seen, Jeff, on the making of.
On where?
On the making of Batman Forever, where he's like, we were in the middle of a meeting and I'm talking about all these things we want to do, and about an hour in, I realized after they said, isn't there something else you want to try, Tim, or something else you want to do? I'm like, you guys don't want me to make this movie, do you?
Yeah,
I kind of dawned on him. Yeah,
I saw that, and I was kind of like, oh, what could have been? Because I didn't hate Batman Returns like some people did. It's still in the running with Part 1 as my favorite Batman movie, and
I liked it.
I have not had the bravery to revisit Batman Forever. I saw it twice in the theater on its release, and within seconds of the first viewing, seeing the acting that was coming from that bank security guard in that vault, I realized something had gone awry. And I thought, oh, something about the direction and tone of this movie is very, very different from what I'm used to in a Batman film, and just couldn't plug in, man.
That's a direct result or a great example of studio meddling.
Yep.
Batman Forever is where it all began for Batman, because it sucks because Tim Burton really wasn't keen on making Batman Returns.
Mm-hmm.
But when he came in to do Batman Forever, you can tell from the interview, he's actually excited this time to do it.
Uh-huh.
And he had fun the last time, evidently, and they didn't because they got yelled at by McDonald's. So
yeah.
That's where they're like,
bring that one up. Yeah, it was definitely McDonald's.
They're like, we can't sell this crap. You got the penguin with green stuff coming out of his mouth and biting people's noses off. And you got an overtly sexual Catwoman. They were freaking the F out on everybody on that.
Yeah.
So they told Joel, make it fun, make it for the kids. So Joel just made it fun and made it for the kids. Yeah, I blame McDonald's, Dr. Coffin Nails. What do they expect? It was a PG-13 movie.
I think that they shouldn't have pandered to McDonald's on that one. I mean, if McDonald's ruined it, because I went and got the Batman Returns stuff at McDonald's that summer. I was just loving that movie. But I mean, dude, in the very beginning, he shows up. First of all, it's in the snow, which I love movies that are set in the snow. Empire Strikes Back. And he shows up, he jumps out, and he just starts beating the crap out of clowns, and he sets a dude on fire. I'm like, this is the greatest movie ever.
Have you ever played the Super Nintendo game for Batman?
Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome, because then I got to beat up the clowns and set the guy on fire. Oh, it's great.
Oh, yeah, for a 12-year-old seeing Batman Returns, that was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we also have our friend Go Big Boar Go Home, who is a weapons expert. We've had him on Jesse's channel. He's a great guy, Sean.
Call him by his name.
Sean Firefart.
Thank you.
That's his name. He says, MSM has conditioned people to be frightened by the sight or mention of a firearm. People see them and act like you're waving a Nazi flag. Ridiculous.
Miami Sound Machine is responsible for that?
Was it Sheila? Not Sheila E. Is it? No. Gloria Estefan, is that Miami Sound Machine, or is it?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. Come on, baby, say you love me.
Get on your feet. Get up and make it happen.
Bad boys, boys will be boys. Come on, baby, shake that. Okay, we're stopping.
No, but Sean, you are right about how people freak out about this stuff. I mean, I thought more people in the fandom would be talking about the stormtrooper getting arrested. I was pretty surprised to see that footage today. I felt kind of bad for the lady, but at least it wasn't escalated any further. Brian Snell, thank you very much. Brian says the last 4 episodes of Clone Wars was better than any Star Wars sequel trilogy movie. Brian, I'm not going to argue you with that at all, or with you on that at all. I'm not surprised, to be honest, and I want to watch it. So I'm going to go back possibly Saturday morning when I'm working on stuff.
I got to appeal to people, Jeff, on this one. There's been a lot of phrasings over the last 5 years saying, "Oh, this was better than that last Disney movie or whatever," and it's like, whatever you've just loved, don't set its bar so low by putting it up next to one of those films as a comparison. You know, if you love that Clone Wars series, you know, that last season of Clone Wars, then, you know, say that last season of Clone Wars was better than the last season of Star Trek: The Next Generation, you know, or something where you can really have a discussion, you know, but it's like, it was better than Rise of Skywalker. And it's like, okay, so you jumped over a crack in the sidewalk. Woot. Like,
No, you're completely right. I agree 100%. Or it's the other way around, like when they were saying, oh, Last Jedi is the greatest movie, Star Wars movie ever. It's the best one since Empire, all that kind of crap. It's one way or the other, yeah.
Yeah. It's like give the thing you love some more credit, for the love of God.
Right.
Put it next to something else.
Right. And Mark Underfield, I had to stop or the rhythm was going to get me.
Night.
Let's see. Bruce Lombardo says, "Hail Retroblasting! Hail WCBS! In a perfect world, we could dive into the world of Jace and the Wheeled Warriors instead of reacting to the Sony/Naughty Dog garbage and rehash Star Wars grumbling."
I agree. You know, I think we should do an entire, you know, show on skunk mullets. We could talk about Jace. We could talk about Rogue. There's a number of them out there.
I don't even know what the hell those are. Let's talk about it.
Am I a boomer? Do I get it? No.
A skunk mullet is what we have called around Retroblasting the hairstyle where it's long and wavy and it's got a big white streak going through the center of it.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That sounds very Billy Ray Cyrus to me.
Yeah, Jace had a skunk mullet, and Rogue in the comics, of course, had a skunk mullet.
Well, don't tell Billy that because it'll break his heart, his achy breaky heart.
Oh, I hate country music.
I had to. I'm sorry, I just had to on that one.
I just don't think he'd understand.
Boo!
I really don't think he would, Michael. It might blow up and kill this man.
I'm embarrassed right now.
Don't be. Michael and I are just showing our age a little bit. That's all.
Yeah.
And he's probably, I can't remember if you're a little older or a little younger than me, but I know we're close.
We're in the same wheelhouse, my friend. It's all good. I don't even know how old you are. I just know that you and I are from that same moment in time. I dated
myself when I said I saw Batman Forever in the theater. I think it was 11 when it came out.
I dated myself because no one would go out with me.
Hey, I got my first date at Toy Story. That's not so bad.
No, that's it. How'd it go?
It went all right. Not horrible.
All right. Kind of brings a whole new spin on the line Andy's coming, but you know.
I didn't get that lucky. I was still pretty young. Yeah.
Okay. All right, good.
It was one of those cute your parents drop you off at the movies dates.
Oh, I had one of those. Mine was Spaced Invaders, I think.
Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah, I think it was that one. It was either that or Batteries Not Included. It might have been
both of them pretty decent ones for a date.
I haven't seen those in years either one.
No, not Third Base, Mr. Wonderful.
I was so excited. I was so excited to go on a date with somebody in high school that I wasn't thinking clearly. I won tickets off the radio because I called in and got the celebrity ID of an actor correct. They played like a sound clip and everybody was getting it wrong. And it was Harrison Ford from Patriot Games. So, of course, I immediately did. And I usually didn't call in, but I was playing X-Wing on the PC in my dad's study. And I'm like, I can do this. And I just ran over and called in. It was for the sneak preview of Broken Arrow with John Travolta.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
Not the greatest date movie, but the date didn't go badly. It was just like, oh yeah, this really isn't a date movie. This is Howie Long shooting at Christian Slater. So, whoops.
You know what though? That's cool though that you actually won something. I never win anything until today of all days, and I actually shared it with Jeff. I was so excited.
Awesome.
What'd you win?
I variously kind of pick up things that I lost as a kid because I had a house fire when I was 13. So I've been picking up like trading cards and stuff. And I ran across this newer set of Rocky trading cards that came out 4 years ago. And at the time it came out, you had a 1 in 125 chance of getting a signed autographed card by Sylvester Stallone. Well, I bought this thing for $30 and it was still in plastic. I opened it and it's got one of the cards in it.
Whoa! Wow.
Yeah.
Belinda would be super jealous of you right now. You know that's her favorite actor. So
well, yeah, well, like instantaneously is worth like $300 to $600 right there, at least.
Yeah,
I don't know the
you were
exact.
after for so long.
You didn't tell me the price you paid. You just said, "Look,
No, that's why I said I only paid $30 for it." I was like, "Holy shit!"
That's a hell of a deal.
I know.
Now we find out if that wax pack is worth the price we paid.
So, let's start talking about the Taika Waititi thing. I will say though, since we were talking about first dates, mine was to Sin City, so I had a pretty good movie to go see. But Taika Waititi, it's officially confirmed he is directing a Star Wars film. Now, there's a lot to cover ground-wise when we're talking about the next wave of Star Wars films. I've been seeing articles coming out from Screen Rant. Oh, the Disney trilogy's over, so now we can get into the real crux of Disney Star Wars. This, that, and the other. It's good that it's over. It's good that people don't like it. Blah, blah, blah. There's so much potential for the future. So they have been sticking closely to this December 2022 release date. Originally, I think they had planned 2021 for Avatar, then Star Wars, and back and forth. They were going to do all these movies. I mean, it's funny if you pay attention to what Disney had planned and have you watched it fall apart. They got ahead of themselves. They put the cart before the horse, and so we've heard rumblings of a Kevin Feige project. And Tom, you think that this Kevin Feige Star Wars project is going to be one and the same with Taika Waititi Star Wars, correct?
Well, Andre kind of posited that, but I agree with it. Yeah.
Michael, Mega, what do you guys think about this project in general? Are you interested? Are you excited? Was your love of Thor Ragnarok so strong that it kind of buys you goodwill for this movie? What do you think?
He's so hit and miss for me. He's so I really liked Thor Ragnarok, but I don't know. His humor really is hit or miss, I think, for me. I really have to be in the mood for it. So unless he does something very Star Warsy and not Taika Waititi, then it's going to be a problem for me. It's going to be just another Rian Johnson doing something just to F with fans. Because remember the whole "I'll wreck your mythos in a minute, baby" thing about Thor Ragnarok, or not Thor, Thor: Love and Thunder. Yeah, I think he might just do something to make a fuss, to get people to talk about it, basically to troll us.
The weird part is, too, this might be the first Star Wars comedy. We could have got a Star Wars comedy with Lord and Miller and Solo. I'm not trying to make excuses for everything, but I believe, based on 21 Jump Street, 22 Jump Street, and the Lego movie, Lord and Miller could have delivered a pretty funny yet action-packed Star Wars film. I mean, I love 21 Jump Street. I think that was I put that in the top 10 comedies of the
and not only that, and I'm glad you brought that up, because they paid homage in such a clever way to the original 21 Jump Street while bringing something completely new to the table with that movie. And I never thought of it in that way until just now.
Yeah, my friend dragged me to go see it. I didn't really want to. I thought, this looks
Me either, because I was a huge Johnny Depp / 21 Jump Street fan back in the day. I was a fan of Johnny Depp before he was a huge star, and then when he became a huge star, I'm like, I don't like him no more. Same thing with Will Smith. It's just like, yeah, everybody likes him. I don't care anymore. But yeah. And I didn't want to go.
No, me neither. And then I watched it. And the weird part for me is I don't really talk about identifying with movies, but when they went back to high school and they talked about just the few year age gap and how it feels like completely different generations, where we're talking if I would have been born just a few years later, it would have been cool to be a geek and be eco-friendly, this, that, and the other, be in the juggling society. And I was never in the juggling society or that, but it's just weird how I had to take a year off of school and then transfer. So that set me back a 2-year total. And even just 2 years, some of the people and just the underclass just felt like there was this huge divide in terms of what we were interested in, how we operated as people. And so when I watched that movie, when I saw Schmidt and Janko go back and they're like, man, kids are so different, I connected with that. And then the fact that they were so obvious with making fun of, we've dusted off an old project, we're redoing it, this, that, and the other. It's a very meta movie. And I think every time I go back and watch it, which is, every quarter I watch 21 Jump Street, it's a personal favorite. I do think, what if Solo was this funny? Even with Alden Ehrenreich, who's not a good actor, if he was at least that funny and we were getting that type of laugh in the Star Wars universe, you could have overlooked a lot of shit, because some of the best comedies, for me, may not be the best films, but they make me laugh.
Yeah, I said many times that they should have just let that project roll the way with the original directors, especially how late in the game it was. They shouldn't have pulled the plug on it. And the same thing I said with Rogue One. I know that Gareth Edwards played nice, but it has since been confirmed, that Gareth Edwards, despite the intervention, he was the one that came up during the reshoots with the Darth Vader hallway scene. So even that could be attributed to his talent. And they shouldn't have gotten in his way either. They should have supported him without forcing the camera out of his hands. And with this whole situation with Watiti, is that how you pronounce it? I liked Ragnarok just fine. I thought it was funny. I own it. I see people's criticisms of it. I understand. However, he has since said and done some things in the geek space that are worrisome. And unless it's Bosk Ragnarok, I'm not going to be excited.
I am in the minority, I feel like, when it comes to Thor Ragnarok. I get it that people like it. It's funny. It's fun. I'll take the first film. There's just something I really like. I was watching Avengers the other night with Jesse when we were having dinner, and I was thinking back to how different the MCU is compared to what it used to be. And I'm not just talking about a smaller number of characters. I'm talking about the cinematography. We were very heavy on the Dutch tilt angles. It was a more serious tone, X, Y, and Z. And I was just thinking how much I like that era and how almost I miss it. And it would be cool for me, at least, if the MCU were to kind of revert to that, because you can only go so crazy. I mean, Michael, you'll get this analogy, so will you, Tom, and Mecca. I don't know why I'm this not including you, but like a Moonraker. They literally took James Bond to space. They needed to ground him and make him more realistic. So what did they do? They gave us For Your Eyes Only. I don't think it has any gadget outside of a watch that has a radio thing in it. And they need to, I think, rein it all back in. Hopefully Black Widow will be that film if it ever gets released. You guys think we'll see Black Widow in 2020, or do you think everything will still get pushed back to 2021?
Unless Disney really wants to set the theaters off on them too, they'll wait. And I don't think they can make there's any way that it could be, there's no way they can afford to make that a loss leader for Disney Plus. And I don't think they'd make enough money in streaming rentals to cover it.
Well,
I don't see that happening.
But I do have some Disney financial stuff we'll talk about towards the end of the show, folks, so stick around. And by the way, for those wondering, I will show the SJW Social Justice Warrior card on this Thursday's podcast. I didn't have enough time to get it done the way I wanted to, and I'm not going to show a shitty card. So the one I'm going to show this week is Triggered to Living Balm. I love the concept. I have Michael, you've read a lot of comics, correct? Or you have read comics in the past?
Oh, yeah. I used to be a comics collector when I was in high school and college.
So I'm going back. I actually got this brush from Photoshop. It's a Kirby Crackle brush. So I'm trying to do like a really cool effect. You know how Kirby had all those amazing, the crackling energy and all that shit. Triggered to Living Balm is going to be a nice throwback to that style of artwork.
Nice. So, that'll be cool.
Yeah, folks, each one of these cards will have a unique, the ones that I do, I'm not going to do all 40 of them, but of the let's say I do 10 or 20 of them, I'm going to try to do unique styles for each one. But like I said, this Thursday, I'll give you guys a preview of it. We showed as a left wing and right wing duck last week from Tom. And you had, what was it, point of privilege person?
Point of personal privilege. I sent you a concept for last night. Yeah, it just kind of popped in my head because Andre hates that term. So
I don't even like the word privilege anymore. Like, they've ruined part of Spider-Man 2 for me, because Doc Ock says to Spider-Man, your knowledge is a privilege or whatever. It's not a gift, it's a privilege or some shit like that. And now when I watch it, I'm just like, oh, privilege, ew.
Well, back to the Taika Waititi thing, I liked the things we do in the shadows, or what we do in the shadows, is what it was called. The vampire documentary he did that's funny. I loved Thor Ragnarok unapologetically, and so does Andre. Don't get me wrong, I liked the first Thor as well, but the second one, and I think Taika Waititi could do a good job if he is a Star Wars fan, but we don't really have anything to go off him as far as a Star Wars fan. But you know, like Michael pointed out, I think he has made some bad moves with some of his Twitter, what he said in Twitter and a few other places. He's probably just trolling and being goofy, but it's not looking good for him as far as like fixing the image that they have already going for them. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. I do.
Well, he did the one in Mandalorian episode though too.
Yeah, he's done I think 1 or 2 of those. And of course he did the famous one, I know for sure, where Baby Yoda gets punched.
Yeah, that I didn't like.
But you had some people who loved that and some people who hated that.
Did you see Robert Rodriguez has directed an episode of The Mandalorian?
No, I didn't, but that's awesome.
Yeah, he's gonna be next. What, season 3 or season 2? Did they say?
I didn't know it was already that far into production with 2. I thought this was going to be number 2.
It might. Yeah, it's probably gonna be for number 2, but because I know they announced season 3.
So, Mecca, if you were going to pick an era of Star Wars for Taika Waititi to adapt and direct, would you want it to be set in the OT timeline, prequel, sequel, or completely new, something we've never seen before?
Completely new. I'd rather not have any attachment to the existing characters. No member berries, no references. I think that's where a lot of the stuff fails, especially with Star Wars and Star Trek and all these things, because they're
He should be making Tag and Bink is what he should be doing. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, he would be good to make that. I think so. Yeah, he
something in that area to where it lends itself to the humor. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think you're right.
Tom, what era do you think they'll adapt, or what do you hope they'll adapt?
Well, like I just said, he would be perfect for something like Tag and Bink, but being who he is and considering like the level that Thor Ragnarok is, I have a feeling. Well, I see some people are saying KOTOR in the chat, but are they even going to do KOTOR since they're going to do the High Republic crap? I don't know.
The thing is that they don't know. We don't know. It's like, what are we going to do? Star Wars. What kind of Star Wars?
Well, if he's doing the Kevin Feige gig, then Kevin already knows what he's doing, I'm sure. Kevin's been waiting to do something Star Wars forever.
I wouldn't be surprised if they ever were to do the type of a Star Wars film where they do hire like a Sebastian Stan to play Luke Skywalker. It would be the Kevin Feige one. If they ever do that, I'm not guessing that's what it's going to be. But
I hope they never do anything like that. But I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. I personally just want no more Star Wars movies, and I know I don't have to watch them. So, but I still have my opinion on what I would like to see.
I'm with you there on that point because, like I said yesterday on John Boyega's tweet, he asked, "What is everybody doing to celebrate the 4th?" I put watching Ninja Turtles or something because I just could care less about Star Wars anymore.
Jesse and I tried to watch A New Hope last night, and we got to the Disney Plus page, and then we ended up watching The Sandlot or something else. So we watched what, 16 Candles instead of Star Wars?
Yeah, and Breakfast Club.
And then Breakfast Club. That was John Hughes night. Oh, John Hughes movies. Those are movies you can't make today. That's all I'll say. But I said this on the Midnight's Edge stream, Tom, so you were there, so it's not news to you, but I don't know who in the audience was there. But I don't think this is ever going to get made. I don't think it's going to see the light of day. I think we're going to get a lot of pomp and circumstance around the hype. Oh, Leslye Headland, it's May the 4th, X, Y, and Z. We got
her stuff?
No, I don't think this movie's ever going to get made either.
Oh, Taika's? I think it will.
I don't think we're going to see it. My guess is that we're going to.
I think this might be the next one. I think this is the one from 2022 or whatever it's supposed to be. I could be wrong, but
well, let's play along. Let's say that is the 2022 film. This has to be way into production, not into like actual shooting, but we have to have production design and all kinds of stuff worked out. And the only way you could get a 2022 Star Wars film that would have some kind of quality would be if you're setting it in an era where the design is already established. Let's say it's like a Rogue One. Rogue One, yeah, you did have to design new stuff, but at the same time, your climax is X-Wings versus TIE Fighters versus Y-Wings. So, and they used old footage for the pilots, Gold Leader and Red Leader. So, I mean, if you're going to pump out a Star Wars film into 18 months, you have to be deeper into it than we know, or you have to
think they are
something else.
I think they probably are deeper into it than we know.
Because, I mean, looking at what he's got here, he's in post-production right now of Next Goal Wins. Okay, they got it listed for 2024 on IMDb, but the IMDb is, you know what I mean by that.
Yeah.
He goes right from Next Goal Wins, which I don't know what that is, into Love and Thunder. And then from Love and Thunder into a Star Wars movie. That's why I think it's going to happen. is because he's going to go from one to the other, is what I was going to say. So even though it's the 2024 one, evidently, they may not even have one ready for 2022, so that may be the same one. But I think it's the one that Kevin Feige was announced a few months back, and that's why I think it's a lot farther along than we think. I could be wrong, but...
No, I mean, when you say this the 2024 film, then I'm a little more like, okay, 4 years, then I can
Well,
see
I was just going to point out whatever was supposed to be out in 2022 is going to get pushed back a year or two anyway.
Yeah, but even... I don't know. I just feel like they definitely have jumped the gun. How many times did Iger announce we got a new project, we got a new series, we got this, that, and the other coming out? Look at not Lord and Miller, Benioff and Weiss, right after Last Jedi came out. They're like, oh, it's going to be great, Game of Thrones, this, that, and the other. And then, we fast forward a year and change. Nah, we're moving away from the project.
Well, there's two stories to that one. Is one, they walked away because of KK, or two, they got shit canned because of how bad the reception was to Game of Thrones. So
I don't think they walked away. They wouldn't. You don't walk away. The studio holds more of the power in that situation, I think. So I don't believe from.
I agree with you. I think it was more so after the way Game of Thrones went down,
and then them going out in public in Austin and saying we didn't even know what we were doing.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the moment right there.
Yeah,
they were allowed to resign. I think was the thing.
Yeah,
they were allowed to take the Netflix deal. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw this. You're talking about Disney and money and stuff. They lost $1 billion. The parks have lost $1 billion, and they're down. The company is estimated at $1.4 billion loss this quarter, with $1 billion coming from the theme parks alone. Depending on how long this goes for, I really think we're going to watch Disney restructure the way they make announcements. And the reason I brought this up is when I mentioned how Iger, we have this coming out, that coming out, X, Y, and Z. I mean, to line up a book series or a comic book series, we're talking pennies compared to what it costs to even get a decent show into production. But I think they'll be a little more conservative with a lot of these announcements, because I did listen to some of this conference call, this investors call this morning when I was working on stuff. And
that's part of the reason it was announced too.
Yeah, I think the Taika Waititi and stuff that was announced to kind of hide the fact that they're down 90%.
But yeah, what did you get? What did you get from the meeting, Jeff? Because I didn't get a chance to listen to it. Sorry.
Well, no, don't apologize for anything. Sometimes we have internet connections, so believe me, if it sounds like I talk over you guys, it's not that I'm like, I don't want to hear what they have to say. Sometimes it's just really shitty connection, especially with everyone being at home right now.
No, I know Rob gets like 5 seconds behind us all the time.
I feel bad because sometimes when he's on, he'll be trying to make a point. And I'm just like, oh shit, I talked over. My bad, dude. So luckily we've hung out in person. He knows I don't dislike him, but
no, we literally figured it out the other day. He is he was like 5 seconds behind one day because he kept stumbling over shit. I'm like, dude, you got to be some kind of like delay. And then there was like this long pause. And he's like, yeah, I might be on some kind of delay. I'm like, yeah, let's count 1.
And here I am with
2. I'm like, yeah, you're like 5 seconds behind, dude. I'm like, yeah.
So no, the point what I took away from it, they talk about 20th Century Fox is costing them some money. I got to go back and get figures to talk about, but they call it TC Fox or whatever. They refer to it as that because I was like, what is this TC thing they keep talking about? I'm like, 20th Century Fox. Okay, that came up a bunch. A lot of people, the investors, like I got into the part maybe 10 or 15 minutes before the people were asking questions. A lot of people wanted to know about, when are we going to reopen? When are we going to reopen? What are you doing with furloughs and stuff like that? But they talk about Disney Plus subscriptions, and they announced that there were like 54 million Disney Plus subscribers, but they do at one point say that like 36 million are paid. So we're talking like 19 million free subscribers. Wow. So that was just like in passing. That was mentioned. I would need a full transcript to get exactly where I pulled it from, but I could show it was like that. But they talk about, it was interesting too. They talk about the films earlier in the year that they compared Star Wars, something else, and something else to, and it was Dumbo, Captain Marvel, and something else. It wasn't they didn't talk Avengers. They didn't talk big hits like that. They talked about, we're doing as well as these movies. So we know that Dumbo was not a hit. It's funny that they bring that up, but Dumbo was not financially successful compared to the other Disney live action reboots or remakes, excuse me. So there was a little bit here and there. A lot of the concern was on the theme park. I guess that's where they make so much of their money. I never thought of it like that because I'm not a theme park guy. I know Jeremy is. Jessie's been to quite a few theme parks, so she knows what's up compared to me. But I mean, them losing money like this, if the rumors are true about them opening up in January, because they're going to try to open up Hong Kong Disney in, I think they said May 11th, and that includes masks for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, Singapore, I think, was going to reopen soon as well. I think I have an article on that. I want to say it was May 11th.
Well, with the way they're over leveraged as far as the debt they put themselves into to buy 20th Century Fox, and then the debt they're in gearing up the streaming service, which they had already had news stories back in late 2019 that it would take them several years to get into the black with their investment in Disney Plus. And then this hitting, now they're bleeding millions and millions of dollars a day, tens of millions of dollars a day, billions in theme park revenue. Disney is in a very, very bad situation. Oh, and let's already compound that with ESPN's existing problems prior to this, and now there are no sporting events to speak of, and Disney owns that outright. Yeah, how the mighty fall, Did
you get a chance to listen to this at all? Because some of the stuff you're talking about comes directly out of it. I was like, oh, I guess you must have checked it out.
Well, I did a whole video called the Iger Sanctioning, which was about Disney's corporate, not Disney specifically, but corporate culture and how they don't prepare for a crisis financially or anything like that. And so I talked about some of this stuff. I researched it, so that's probably why it's top of mind, because I mentioned it in that video.
Oh, okay. It was interesting. I don't really follow sports, but they were talking about how they have to pay sports rights fees, even though there aren't sports this year. And some of the investors were questioning, like, "Well, we're not going to talk about that right now." That was what the woman on the call said, and I just was like, "Oh shit!"
Well, a measurable part of everybody's cable bill goes to ESPN, even if you don't watch it.
That's the greatest scheme ever.
Yeah, and I can say that with certainty because the company that I left after 5 years was a cable provider. I was a communications guy for a cable provider, and I finally had enough of corporate life. But that was one of the little kernels that I took away from that job. Was, yeah, everybody who has a cable bill or a satellite bill is subsidizing ESPN.
And I'm just thinking to myself, listening to this, I mean, it makes sense. Disney's doing whatever they're going to do, but outside of owning a library, I never understood the whole Fox acquisition. And then you find out how much debt they had to take out, how much it's costing them, how much it's going to hurt them in the long run. I think it would be, look at folks, I'll admit, if Disney went out of business, I'd laugh. I'd be surprised. I would talk about it for a long time.
And the good question is, what have they done with that since? Really, what have they done with Fox since, outside of the few movies they have on Disney Plus?
I'm trying to think about that, because I think they talk about Hulu not bringing in as much as they wanted to. And
I know some movies are out on licenses. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've not seen an influx of Fox movies on Hulu or anything.
No, and that is one of the big concerns when they bought Fox. Was Disney is notoriously close to the vest with all of their libraries, going back into the vault, that whole stupid marketing campaign. And if they buy out the Fox library, which they have, a disproportionate number of classics and Hollywood's library that Disney has no authorship of is now under their control, and how much of that will disappear from circulation. They were having those problems with the local theater owners who had already booked prints of classics like Aliens and stuff like that they like to show at the
Die Hard theaters. Was another one, yeah. And
then Die Hard.
I remember they sent a letter out saying, "Oh no, we're not going to pull Rocky Horror," but then I guess they did.
Yeah, and they've already gotten in trouble. I can't remember this. I think this is a Disney movie outright, but on their streaming service, they're already digitally editing movies for reasons we can't understand. Like,
they've been doing that for years.
Yeah. But it's getting worse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Splash has never even been released on Blu-ray in the U.S., only in other countries.
Yeah, only in like Australia, and that Blu-ray's out of print, and it's now worth like $250 and up. and I've been running around because I'm a big classic movie fan. I have been since I was a kid. I grew up on movies from all eras, and I've been running around like a chicken with my head cut off the last few months, just trying to buy up all of the 20th Century Fox movie Blu-rays of movies that I like and or always plan to see, because I know that those are just overstock waiting to be dead stock, because Disney doesn't have a plan for those on home video. They're already bad enough about bringing their own stuff out on physical media, and with their library on streaming being so limited, I know I sound like a Luddite, but
I've been doing the same thing.
Yeah,
100%. What I don't already own, like last 2 weeks ago or whatever, I went out and got Alien and Die Hard on 4K. So I knew those were going to get pulled sooner or later, because those were prints that were brought out before the acquisition, I believe.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. And Disney has been really, I've been hearing a lot of weird shit, but it's almost like they've kind of gave up completely on physical media almost. They've been having fire sales and shit here and there. It's kind of nuts. Like they had a big fire sale 2 weeks ago, I think it was, at Best Buy on their Steelbooks.
Well, I think a lot of that has to do with their economy completely, though.
Well, that, and they're just trying to get rid of it all. And they're getting rid of it, and then you won't be able to get it for a while. Then the only way you can access this crap,
it's through streaming.
It's through Disney Plus.
Yeah. Which, I always have to ask, like for me, I haven't bought DVDs in a while, but I have a shelf of them behind, like a whole wall full of them, of stuff that I know I like. But I haven't seen a whole lot of stuff that's really worth watching again and again for me, like in recent years. So I kind of am okay with letting some of these go, but at the same time, it's like, okay, you got to kind of have somewhere to put all the classic movies that people actually might want to see who didn't buy them all 10 years ago, like me, or 20 years ago in some instances, you know?
Well, I actually went and, well, I mean, we know they've all the way back to Who Framed Roger Rabbit, they've censored movies.
Oh, yeah.
They kind of
had to in that one, though.
Well, that one not so much, because that one was actually, the animators made it that way on purpose to a point, especially the Baby Herman bit. I don't know why they cut that out. But what it is one bit where he's going underneath the one lady's skirt in the beginning of the movie. He's like, "Excuse me, toots." In the other original version, you can see he sticks his finger up and sticks his tongue out. They cut that out. And then when Benny the Cab hits the pole near the end of the movie and Jessica and Eddie go flying, you can see that Jessica's going commando. Well, they gave her underpants after the initial release. So that's a start. And then they've taken out anything where like animators have gotten snuck in like Playboy pictures and stuff into the Rescuers and a few other things like that they've taken out, of course. But then you get into the things like, they won't release Song of the South altogether. And then Fantasia, they cropped out and cut out the little black girl, Minotaur, and a few other things that they've done like that, and that leads up to like Splash. And I've been looking for a few other things. I'm sure there's more out there that people haven't found that they've altered. And then now that just, where are they going to stop? Does that mean they're going to stop on Fox movies? I doubt it.
No,
it's bad enough they do it on their own, and that's the point I was going to get to. Sorry with that long diatribe there.
No, you're good. Dude, again, don't apologize for going on a long rant. You're just spitting the truth. Like
Centaur, I'm sorry, not Minotaur. My bad.
I do wonder where it will stop as well. And you got to think, let's just say they continue to buy up. They recover from this. They buy another studio. When let's just say hypothetically they buy Universal. Now they own Back to the Future. We think the line where they encounter the black guys from the band outside, that's a little racially insensitive. We're going to cut that line out. It's like eventually we're just going to cut scenes out, or movies that are going to be deemed. It's like Fahrenheit 451. They burn the book, so certain parts or certain things aren't acceptable. It's like, where does Disney have this self-imposed authoritarianism? Where do they get the right to do that? I mean, is it whoever has the most bucks? Because thankfully, they don't have as many bucks as they used to, and it looks like if this thing continues to go, it's going to cripple them eventually.
I don't know why. I think I know why they might do it. just to keep their money in their pocket. Because imagine if some parents there with Disney Plus babysitting their kid, and they're like, "Oh my God, I saw a naked butt," and they get so offended and they sue Disney for not warning them over it or something. I mean,
that's the real
I
problem with Disney. Sorry, Becca, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I just was finishing up. I said I think it's just to avoid that.
Well,
Another one. Oh, go ahead, Michael.
No, it's fine. I was just going to say real quick that Disney has always had that school marm mentality about their content. They don't let the content stand on its own, even 4 and 5 decades later. They're constantly trying to parent us as an audience, and it's becoming insidious.
Yeah.
Now, I have a question for you guys. Let's say Disney does get sold off. Let's say just the worst things happen. Who do you think would buy them if they got into some deep shit? Let's just throw something out there. Let's say it's happening. Who do you think would pick them up?
The position they're in right now, the best, or not best, but the most likely outcome would be like we said before, a hostile takeover between Apple and George Lucas, because those two own the most stock, and it wouldn't take much to turn in enough stockholders to sell or whatever to make that happen, especially if it gets real low. If it gets real low, Apple, they're probably number one.
Apple's the best contender.
I mean, people are like, "Oh, you don't want that to happen. That would be a fate worse than death." I've watched a couple Apple original programs. They're not that bad. I don't know if it's an indicator of what the whole corporate culture is like. I don't buy Apple products. I don't know. I don't follow Tim Cook. I don't follow any of these people that work at that company. But
I see people saying Warner Brothers and Universal. I don't think they could. I don't think the government would let them, because AT&T owns Warner Brothers, okay, and Comcast owns Universal. They're already huge companies. Netflix, Comcast, AT&T are all bigger than Disney already. Apple's bigger than all of them.
But Netflix is bigger than Disney?
Technically, yes.
From a financial standpoint, but I mean,
yes, technically, yes. From a financial position, yes.
That'd be some shit if they bought them. Just flat out.
I doubt it. I don't think they could handle it. They could. Theoretically, that may be the next person in line. Maybe. I'd see Microsoft maybe jumping in some way, trying to do something with MSN or something. Because what are they up to lately?
No, I don't see Disney selling. I see Disney being like Star Trek or something, where they're like, no, we want more than it's actually worth, and we're not going to sell it no matter what.
Mark Undefied says, I didn't say all. I said if it was split up. I mean, they could do that. If it was split up and auctioned off, I guess. But that things would have to get real dire. There's probably more of a chance they'd end up having like a hostile takeover by Apple than they would that happening first, I would think.
I did see somebody mention in the chat Amazon. That'd be interesting too, because I think Amazon's going to come out the best of all the streaming war people.
There's rumors that Amazon or what's the other one that Netflix might even look at buying CBS or Paramount. I would see Netflix buying Paramount. That does not, because they have a lot of deals with Paramount. Like, we've talked Beverly Hills Cop 4.
Yeah.
And technically 5 came along with that package. So I would not be surprised the least bit. And Sony, maybe that's who like somebody like Apple might pick up. There's been a lot of rumors there. But that's possibly what's going to happen, because these smaller companies aren't going to be able to survive against the big ones.
I agree with you on that statement, but I also think the big franchises, if we change the way we consume entertainment, the big franchises aren't going to be financially viable anymore. And it's going to be the small streaming shows or the small budget films that really, guide the ship.
It's funny you mentioned that, because we just recently did the report on Universal against AMC and Cineworld, or AKA Regal, and the National Theater Association. And I'm doing an editorial to kind of clear it up, because a lot of people are like, oh, this makes no sense. Universal doesn't need the theaters. It's like, actually, they kind of do. And what you were just saying is a probable thing to happen. If theaters die and they go to a streaming-only platform, then don't be surprised if you're forced to pay like $60, $70 to $100 to rent a movie. If they continue, because they're not gonna streamline anything back. Hollywood doesn't spend less money. They don't do that. They'll just keep spending the same amount and they'll pass the buck on to us. Because the reason why it costs $20 to get into a movie and $20 for a bucket of popcorn and $10 for a soda is because the theaters take so much money, or the studios take so much money already from the theaters. So they're already passing the buck on to the theaters. If the theaters are gone, there's nobody left but us to pass the buck on to. Because they're not going to take any more money out of their pocket than they have to.
Well, then we'll be back at the 80s, though. Remember how it was you had to pay all that money to buy copies of videotapes so you could not, to avoid...
Yeah, and it's going to be worse. It's going to be worse than that because they're not going to be able to make that much. They're killing the rental market is what they're doing right now. If they kill the theater window, then they won't have that month or so that they rent the movie now digitally before the Blu-ray comes out. And then they're also going to, on top of it, probably they're already trying to kill physical media. If that dies out, that's another avenue. All they're going to have left is streaming. And a lot of people are going to get pissed that they're going to have to pay $100 to see the next Avengers movie. I mean, people are going to think I'm crazy, but if you stop and think about it, you're right. That's what's going to likely happen. And that's how they made their money back in the video age. It was when you went to a video store, it was because that video store paid $100 for that tape usually for you to be able to rent it out for a day for $2.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I remember buying tapes. I remember seeing ads for tapes. I remember seeing the ad for Rocky Horror Picture Show when it first came out, and they wanted $90 for it because it wasn't, this wasn't the day and age where you would just buy a home video of something. You would either rent it or you might get lucky and you might find a used copy that got chewed up that the video store wants to get rid of that they've already marked as destroyed or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know.
You guys...
I wouldn't go and buy. I wouldn't rent a movie for $100.
No,
it's not worth it.
How do you think piracy will be?
Well, that's another thing that'll happen. Yeah, is piracy will take over, and then they'll blame that. Well, and they're all putting it out there because the moment they put something out on digital, there's already a digital copy online. The theaters gave them that cushion to where you had at least a couple weeks or better before an HD copy would leak out of some Asian country somewhere where you get a hard-coded subtitles and all that kind of stuff on them. And that would give them that window at least to where most people aren't going to go to that trouble to watch it. They're going to go to the theater. They're just going to wait for the digital or video copy is what they're going to like erode that whole thing if the theaters get pulled out of the equation.
I mean, there's a paradigm shift coming. There's no doubt about that. Things are going to be interesting to see how we consume entertainment, I'd say, in the next 2 years. Because if all these companies do want exclusively streaming, then our ISPs really need to lock their shit down. I don't know if there needs to be some sort of meeting where it's like we need to offer, build new infrastructure. But, I mean, if we can barely stream a laptop, what if everyone's going to, let's just say you're streaming something right now to listen to this show. If the whole world has to, you cut out home video to stream everything. I mean, internet's going to be taxed even further, and I don't think we can handle that right now. So now, Michael, I have heard you mention in passing that you are a gamer, correct?
Sorry, Mando. I should say customers, not consumers. My bad. Consumer is more like with food and stuff. Yeah. People always got to correct me.
That's okay. No, but
I'm glad they do, though.
Yeah,
I'm not.
I know you're not, Michael. I know you hate that, but you're right more than me. I always say the stupid shit.
I don't believe that for a moment.
And according to you last week, your mom likes goofy shit in terms of movies. So,
yes,
thing.
No, I disowned her the moment she said Ghostbusters 2016 wasn't that bad. I'm kidding. I didn't actually disown her.
I mean, you're my friend. I wouldn't blame you for acting in a time of crisis. So
it's like, I don't even know who the hell you are. But then again, you watch that crap on Hallmark. So yes, I do. That's kind of how the commercial, that's how it all went.
Well, that's who that movie was for. That was so the market of the movie was like the moms who like that cringe dancing and shit.
My mom's not quite a Karen, but I mean, she's just, she's easily entertained in that sense that as long as it's got a talking dog or it's about Christmas or somebody falls in love, she's cool. It's cool,
So now, briefly, I wanted to shift gears. Michael, like I said, I know I've heard you mention video gaming in the past. Have you followed any of this Last of Us 2 news?
No, what's been going on with it?
So the game Last of Us 2 had a massive leak. Was it last week or the week before? And there had been rumblings, there had been rumors online that Naughty Dog, we're just going to use the phrase, they were taking an SJW approach, meaning it was more of a progressive take. And then we had the leaks come out, and some of those things were confirmed. We're not going to spoil it for anyone here on the channel, but some of the spoilers came out. People were disheartened. And then there was this huge pushback from the company. They were doing these massive strikes on YouTube channels. Jeremy got attacked, had a stream shut down, had to really fight that stuff. And so moving forward, we found out that the leakers weren't at weren't at Naughty Dog. And now the creator, not the creator, but one of the people that work at the studio, they have been, they put out a video talking about the situation. It's getting this massive negative impact. Mecca, you laughed. I guess you've seen this or you've heard about it?
Yeah. I've been covering it a little bit. I had to laugh at how massively thumbed down his video was. His little, and this is what happened, and whatever. The creator of the video. It was hilarious because they disabled comments first off, and now I can see that their reasoning for that might be to prevent spoilers, sure, but with the massive downvote ratio, no. No. You didn't want a whole bunch of people calling out on your BS. That's all it was. But yeah, and then there were striking channels that didn't even show any footage of the game. That were just talking about other channels being struck. So,
well, I'm gonna put out a video about it on Thursday because I want to take another take. Like when everyone was talking about Leslye Headland and the Star Wars stuff, I was thinking about how she was a political pawn or a ploy. So I want to talk about more of how we got to this point with Naughty Dog and how we got to this point with gaming, because this is an annual thing. We have these big games that always shit the bed, or Amber Heard the bed, excuse me. But we also have
Amber Turd.
Amber Turd. I stand correct. But we also have these emboldened producers where they're okay with attacking fans. I mean, I think even a shill, and I'm using shill in quotations here, website is going after fans. VG 24/7 insults and attacks fans suspicious of Naughty Dog's claims regarding The Last of Us 2 leaks. I mean, this story has all the makings of a dumpster fire. We have a massive leak. We have politics. We have a culture of ideology that clashes with, I guess, the old school culture of video game creating. Like, there's all these things that play with this Naughty Dog Last of Us story, and that's why we've been talking about it, because this type of thing, I wish we had a better phrase for it. I don't want to just call it, wokeness or whatever, but that seems to be the most cover-all phrase, or catch-all phrase. But it's like, anytime this brand of whatever gets infused into something that we all like, it's always the same result. And The Last of Us 2 is the latest addition. And I think this game will suffer for this. It's not going to be a failure. I never said the game was going to fail outright, but I do think people are going to be hyper aware and hypersensitive to the stuff. I mean, I don't know if you saw this, Mecca. I covered it on the channel. They were talking about they made the women more androgynous as not to offend transgender women. So, I mean, we're having that discussion around a fucking video game.
I think that was part of the problem, and then the other problem is what the leak revealed about what happens to major characters from the previous game was my gathering. It wasn't even so much of the character that did it.
No, but
and surrounding it, but again, they had to turn that on us just because, to try and give us an istophobe for it.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I've been saying. That they use these for any time they have something that is a little mediocre, where they're getting a whole community of the Anitas going after people, saying, "Oh, well, where are her organs, and what should be this, and you should do that," and it's basically a bunch of Karens who don't actually understand that they don't like something and need to butt out of it, because they have to find something to nitpick and have to find something to complain about. It's the same people who say that orcs are racist in D&D or whatever. You have this certain subsection of the geek fandom who don't understand that they don't have to like something because it's geek fandom, and they want to infuse what they think is the problem with something, even though it really never was. Like, a character design really wasn't an issue. Nobody, only the people who didn't actually play the games had a problem with, characters having giant chests and looking very, very sexy or whatever. And then they had to go and do this to, like, their official thing is to not offend the alphabet community, as it were. I think it's just to keep it so that you're not able to criticize them, right? So that anybody who does criticize you, you can just say, oh, you're a nist and you're a phobe for something that's mediocre.
It's kind of like how nobody was really noticing that certain people were like wearing something a bit tight, or were voluptuous in a certain way that may not be somebody you should comment on them, because they weren't necessarily thinking about it that way. So that one creepy person speaks up and says something. It's like, well, why are you looking at it in that way?
Yeah.
Not to get too specific, but I mean, it kind of reminds me of that kind of a situation. It's like, well, no, I wasn't thinking about that until you brought it up. It's like, now, it's awkward because you brought it up. Before that, nobody else noticed but you. And it opens more questions about the said person.
Exactly. Well, that's back to the orcs are racist thing.
Yeah.
Like, okay. You just... But usually the people who go around saying everything's racist are a bunch of white chicks who need to justify their own privilege anyway, so...
Right. And then the other part of this I saw was very reminiscent of when we got pulled down in midstream during Andre's Captain Marvel review.
Yeah, they do it just to get back at you. Yeah, I was watching Jeremy's stream. I had it kind of quiet, but I know he was just talking, and he wasn't discussing leaks, and he wasn't actually saying anything other than Ryan Cannell got struck, and everybody else who had gotten struck at that point. And it just seems like it's we gotta shut you up in on the one hand, but on the other hand, it also could be one of these overzealous copyright companies, these third-party people who go in and just look through tags. They just search the Last of Us 2 leaks as a tag, and then that's what they strike. Because my videos have been safe so far, but I also flat out said, hey, if you dare strike my videos, I'm going to play the rules by your rules that you've established, and pull the LGBT card and say, look what you're doing to LGBT channels, you fucking hypocrites. So they haven't dared touch me yet.
This in the chat has sparked an interesting conversation. If you keep this up, you'll see a rise of real transphobe because tolerance has a limit. I think this is going to do it like anything.
I think we're already seeing it, because I've been called a transphobe for saying a couple things already that I didn't feel like were necessarily transphobic, because I know people who are trans and they don't have a problem with me necessarily, but they know I'm an asshole too, so that doesn't matter.
Charm, though, dude.
But yeah, no, I mean, one time it came up because of the whole Sesame Street when they were talking about making Bert and Ernie gay, and some other parent having a set of parents that were gay on the show and stuff like that. And, I was like, I don't see why making Bert and Ernie gay should matter. And the fact that most gay people fought against that stereotype of those two characters just because they lived together for so long, making them gay would be kind of detrimental to that, I thought, at least from that perspective. And then the other part, as far as having two of the same parents, fine and dandy, whatever. Other than that, they don't sit there and talk about, the other parents having sex or what they feel about in the show. So why is Bert and Ernie a thing? Shouldn't be a thing towards kids. Got in trouble for that from some people, I guess. Whatever. And then there was one time I brought up an article where people were, and this is more than one article I've seen, by the way, but I only brought it up once, where people who are being chastised because if they're cis or straight, that's what I used to call it, folks, not cis. I don't know where the cis crap came from until recently.
Because I want to call you a sissy.
That you were transphobic if you wouldn't date a trans person.
See, here's the thing. I wouldn't date a trans person any more than I would date somebody who's had 27 plastic surgeries, gone through, years and years of medications, somebody who's been in jail. There's a lot of things I wouldn't date in a person, because a lot of stuff that would make me question their viability as a partner. I would see that as somebody who doesn't seem very happy in their own skin. So
right, and that's where they got pissy, because I eventually got to some point where it's like, well, obviously, I don't want to deal with the whole fact of the matter is I'm straight. I'm not into somebody who's a guy or was a guy. I don't care what they identify as. And and somebody came and emailed me about it and started talking about all those surgeries and stuff. It's like, yeah, I get that. They can identify all they want. But I said it's the same reason, why they won't let kids, under the age of 18 decide these things, because if they would allowed me to do that when I was a kid, I'd be a fucking Ninja Turtle by now. I mean, that's the thing. And they got all offended by it. It's like, what am I saying that's wrong? Kids don't know what they want from 1 minute
your
to the next.
neocortex isn't developed yet. There's a medical reason behind this. There's a scientific reason. Your neocortex is not formed yet. That part of the brain, which can predict the consequences of your action, doesn't really kick in until you're in your mid-20s anyway. So you're not really capable of making kind of life-altering.
Right, and that's what I told him. I'm like, if you're an adult and you make that decision, that's your call. But I don't think a kid should be allowed. Is all I said, and because I said that, I was called a transphobic over it. It's like, I don't allow my kid to leave the house without permission when he was under a certain age. I don't know why this is such a debate. It's like where are you going? It's 10
these
o'clock.
Are the same
You're
kids
12.
who aren't
Get the
allowed
fuck
outside
back
of
here.
their house, period, because they can't go across the street to play with their friends because they might get kidnapped because their parents sitting there texting. So that's this day and age of people. Everything's backwards and wrong.
Well, they got my kid freaking out who's almost 18 years old and 200 some pounds. He's like, Dad, come get me. I'm like, you can walk. You're only a couple blocks away. What if somebody tries to kidnap me? Then they earned it, I said. And he's like, fuck you, Dad. I'm like, that was funny.
You're over 18. Go.
Well, he wasn't 18 yet, but what's the point? He was still 5 foot something and 200 some pounds. It's like, I'm sorry. It's not like that's what I said to him. Sorry, it's not like you're a 12-year-old girl. Come on, give me a break here. And we live in the most like rural of areas to where it's like nothing like that ever happens. I mean, like we haven't had anything bad like that happen around here in the longest time. I'd have to look it up, and I don't even know if it'd be on record online. That's how long ago it probably would be. So, but yeah, I know I'm an asshole. I said that already.
No, but I wanted to bring this up because there's always new information that kind of unfolds with these stories, and that's the beauty of doing live shows as opposed to videos, because I love doing the videos. I mean, you've seen, folks, the last 2 videos have been really successful. I got the third one, which is about this Naughty Dog stuff, and then I have the promised reason why I think Star Wars just didn't catch on with this generation. But when you have little bitty updates all the time, it's this format lends itself perfectly because we can kind of build, and that's what I think this channel and a lot of us in the Fandom Menace is. A lot of our videos build on the previous video, so there's a narrative thread, kind of like a traditional comic book. You may read the first 12 issues of Spider-Man, but it all kind of ties together with that annual #1 where he fights the Sinister Six, and that's how we kind of operate. Where a lot of these streams tie together, and then a bigger form video at the end. But I digress. There's the fact that they're denying or they're attacking fans over this shit. It's just, there's a playbook out there, guys. There's definitely a playbook that all these studios, all these companies, studios being video game studios or movie studios, they follow. And we have more information, breaking from all of the, all these leaks. So I'll be back to talk about it a little later. Michael, what are your thoughts though on a video game company that goes for the identity politics and kind of tries to push away its audience? Do you think, because it doesn't work in movies and comics, do you think it'll work in gaming, or do you think it's just a fool's errand at every turn and you have no clue why they do it?
Well, I identified some of this stuff.
Don't say that.
What?
Okay, you said identify. My bad, Michael.
Oh, no problem. Sorry, I was like, oh God, am I in a minefield? What did I just do?
You said I identified.
Okay, gotcha. Thanks for the save. Didn't realize I was walking in there. I was like, la-di-da. I'm a huge Tomb Raider fan, all the way back to the beginning of the franchise, 1996. And even when I fall out of gaming cycles, we all go through that where it's like, I realized I hadn't picked up a controller in 18 months, or whatever. And then, you find yourself gaming again. Tomb Raider is always one that when they announce another game, I'm ready, I'm there, I pick up the game. And when they relaunched the series in 2013, and they said, we're starting over, my first thought was, fuck, another reboot. Because I'm just so sick of the reboot stuff. And I was like, all right, well, what are they doing? And, it's a survival story, and there's all these people, and you're in a group. And I'm like, I'm in a group? That's like the new MacGyver show where he's in a group. It's like, he's not impressive if everyone's helping him out and he can phone a friend. What's this all about? So I start playing the game, and of course, what I start to realize in that instance, thankfully, is that the marketing hype and everything and all of the media outlets they got some of it right and they got some of it wrong. And as I'm playing the game, yeah, there are all these different characters that are kind of in the script, and you interact with them, but it is still a one-player, single-story campaign game, and you are on your own, and it was one of the most compelling games I'd ever played. It had me on the edge of my seat. Some of the most exciting gameplay I've ever had. I felt like I was finally integrated into a movie. But my point in saying that is not to say, oh my God, this game's great. If you haven't played it, you should go play it. I'm not trying to be an ad for Tomb Raider. My point is that in that instance, the strength of the script outweighed any of the problems that would have come from those manipulations. So I learned through that game, it's a weak story that can't support new characters. Whatever the intention of the dumb corporate filmmaker or game developer is, a new character coming in, if they're well written, the audience is going to accept them and not care. So let's take an infamous example. Let's take Finn from Force Awakens. Not the rest of the trilogy, just Force Awakens, right? You watch the marketing and you say to yourself, okay, I don't know about the rest of this. This is what I said to myself at the time. I don't know about the rest of this, but the idea of a defecting stormtrooper is really interesting to me. They've never done that before. Oh, and because of JJ's deceptive marketing, which we didn't know at the time, and I thought, oh, he's also the Force user in the movie because he was the one shown with the lightsaber. Mm-hmm. Did the Force compel him to get out of this evil empire? Was it the Force? This could be a really compelling story, right? So you're going all in. Now, obviously, JJ fucked the whole thing up, and it didn't actually work out that way, and it was all a big lie. But my point in saying that is, if Finn had been written that way, strongly, I would not have seen Finn as any kind of tokenism, which is what he's been criticized to be, and in certain instances, rightly so, because they made him the comic relief, they made him a coward, they made him a janitor, literally. They gave him all the dumb comedic lines, like, you ready for this, kid? Hell no. It's like, come on, really? He's not well written. And so their ham-fisted intent with where he's supposed to slot in is far more evident than it is if he's written well. And I don't know if I'm making sense or not, but
you are 100% though.
Yeah. So with the video game stuff, I have had very direct experience with well-written video game franchises where they completely revamped the whole look, feel, cast, makeup, everything of all of the peripheral characters and everything. But it was so well written. It was so well written that it didn't factor in. It was like, this is well written. This is deep. This is exciting. These characters are integral to the plot. All of this works, and it's great. And so it goes down for me as a really, really good installment in the Tomb Raider franchise. And then the follow-up was just as good. The third one, not so much. But it didn't have anything to do with these issues. It had more to do with just some really, really boring storytellers. They changed the story team. Big mistake. And to be direct about it, I don't know if you've heard of the author Terry Pratchett. He's the guy that wrote all the Discworld fantasy novels. His daughter was I can't remember if it's his daughter or granddaughter. I think it's his daughter. His daughter is the writer of those first two relaunched Tomb Raiders. And, she was trying to bring new energy into those games and bring a broader audience into those games. But she did it the right way and didn't turn away the legacy fans like myself. I'm talking way too much. I'm going to shut up.
No, you're fine. Yeah. No, you're fine. We're all listening.
Yeah. So it's that's the thing is on the surface, if somebody didn't know much about Tomb Raider and they were shown a 1996 screenshot and they were shown a 2013 screenshot, they could look at that and go, oh, this is just identity politics being forced onto Tomb Raider. But when you actually play the story, it's not, because the story is so strong and everything is there for a reason. It's awesome. I guess what I would say with that is we'll never know until we have the controller in our hands. You'll just never know until the story plays out. That's the thing that sucks about video games and movies. You don't know what you're in for until after you've parted with your money.
Well, yeah, unless you rely on reviews first, and
that's
spoil
true.
it. But
yeah, that's
except
true.
for when we were kids, they didn't give a shit then because they knew the movies were good.
Right.
They gave us the whole movie in the trailer. You had
yeah,
books and cards and comics and everything telling you the story before it all came out.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to say that.
No.
What Cobra Kai did, though, that introduced new characters after getting us on board with our old characters again.
Well, and not only that, it didn't do it at the expense of the old characters.
No, they're I never feel like it is taking shots at, in any sort of serious way that we need to kill these characters off. You might have some bratty teenage moments, but even then they're not that bad. I mean,
oh no, that's a great example. Cobra Kai is a great example. It's another show where they said we're going to write this and make sure that it looks like society today, but the intent is not to preach from on high, and the intent is just to tell a really good story. Mecca, thank you for reminding me of that. That's a great example in the live action space. That is to TV what Tomb Raider 2013 was to video games. It did it the right way, not the wrong way.
I hope Bill and Ted follows that.
Same.
Yeah, because
I think they will.
Yeah, we always bring up Cobra Kai as a great example. We hope Ghostbusters is going to do the same thing. And Bill and Ted, I mean, Ed Sullivan, bless him, he's a great guy. We're working on having an interview with him. He reminds me of Nicholas Meyer, though.
Okay.
Because Nicholas Meyer was one of those where it just happened spontaneously one day after we tried to schedule it, and this is kind of working out the same way. But this is more so just because he's probably so much more busy with Bill and Ted stuff. But I seen a tweet today, and this has nothing to do with any affiliation of my own or anybody on the panel. But they announced the new thing. I don't know if you saw me. I think I tagged you in it, Mecca, where that was this big announcement where the thing is where you send in a video of yourself doing air guitar or whatever for Bill and Ted.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's going to be in the movie or on the home video release or what the deal is, but you have till the 20th to get it in. And somebody, of course, said, well, are Trump supporters allowed to or watch it or whatever? And he said, yes, in so many words. And, basically is like, finally, we see one of these guys who I know has very strong left leanings and is always speaking out on his Twitter. It was nice to finally see somebody go, no, fuck you, for once.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this guy he understands that if he turns away somebody like that, he's going to be losing half of his fans.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that's the whole thing about writing it well. I haven't really heard, except for the bottom feeders of the internet of which they are out there, and they're very rare. Actually, they're not as prolific as people like to make them out to be. Aside from those people that prior to the internet age, were kept on a neighborhood watch list and usually kept in a basement away from sunlight and other people. Aside from them, most people that I know are honestly like nobody's arguing that we don't want the term, I guess, is diverse, but nobody's arguing for less diversity from everyone I've spoken to. All they want is a really, really solid story that follows logically and everything's properly motivated. And beyond that, I don't know. I'm getting really sick of these boneheads that come in and they think, well, it's paint by numbers. And what I mean by that is script writing. They think, well, as long as I have these visual tropes in there that reflect the checklist of what Hollywood wants for their from the results of their focus group, the story doesn't even matter. And it's like, no, it works the other way around. You really need to work on that blank page, of the story first and get that really tight. And then after that, everything else matters less. But they haven't figured that out. They're working in reverse. And
right, they're putting their politics ahead of the characters and stories, definitely.
Yeah, and their hang-ups and their yeah, exactly.
And this right here is what I was talking about, and this is what makes me feel good about Bill and Ted 3. Because look at this. This is what he said. Yes, and I'm sorry about my rage tweets. Sometimes I just can't help it.
He need to apologize, would he? I mean, he would just say, "Oh, of course, politics has nothing."
No, but at least he understands. I get that.
Yeah.
I love seeing this. I don't care what your politics are, as long as you're being accepting of others.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's why I get lumped in with a certain stance that I may not necessarily take, just because so many people on the sort of super SJW stance of things tend to not be accepting of anybody else. It's as bad as when people get on your butt and start preaching religion to you, where they're like, well, if you don't believe this, you're going to go to this and you're going to do this. And all right. So I'm hearing the exact same thing now from the political arguments, and I hear it on both sides sometimes. And it's like, I don't care. This isn't really the time or place for it. I try and keep it as out of the stuff as I can, but obviously, and I keep telling people that no, like the Phantom Menace stuff isn't really a political movement. We're actually trying to get rid of the political aspect out of our entertainment and get it back for everybody and have something more unifying, because it used to be a time when you would see somebody with like a Star Trek shirt and you automatically instantly had something to talk about, or, and now it's like, oh, do I even say something? Are they going to be on the wrong side of it? Are they going to be a Star Trek Discovery fan and call me an ist and a phobe if I say, I wasn't crazy about it? Are they going to flip out on me? Something. And that's how it is with Star Wars now. That's how it is with a lot of our entertainment. It's they've made it so political that we can't escape it.
You're right. You were right with that. I wanted to comment on the chat. The story should come first. I think it's important because it's the driving narrative of whatever we're supposed to consume. And think of it like this. Like, this is an older analogy. But like, you wanted a shitty haircut. You were talking about skunk mullets earlier, Michael. Let's say you're 13 years old and you want a skunk mullet, or you want a tattoo of some crap. Eventually, you get past that phase, that age, that stage, and you go, I really wasn't into it that much. Now, think of it from the standpoint of these massive producers, these games. It's like, oh, this game is entrenched in 2017 politics. It comes out in 2020. We've already moved on as a society so far. It doesn't really age well. Imagine it 20 years from now. I mean, we go back and we play Zelda, we play Mario, we play GoldenEye, all these fun games, Doom, Halo. We play these games that are timeless. You go back and there are these iconic things that we want more. I mean, there is an online movement to remake GoldenEye by the fans, and it looks fantastic. My point is, there's a lot of love. There's not going to be a lot of love. They're not going to build anything that sticks around long term anymore, and it's just going to go like it is with the films, like with songs. I mean, how many songs are covers? How many songs are sampled? One of the worst songs I've ever heard in my entire life is by Fall Out Boy. It's called Uma Thurman. It's literally the Munster theme. And then they sing another part. Like, that to me is the ultimate in a lack of originality. You can shit on every other pop star in the world. Nobody is as bad as that song because it's just cut and paste bullshit.
Yeah, they don't know how to write archetypes anymore. They only know how to write references.
Which is sad, too.
Yeah. Hollywood has become creatively inbred. It's film school rejects and film school people who've only grown up watching films and not having real experiences of their own, and now they're just writing, jokes. And sometimes the jokes, when they're timely, they land in the moment. But like you're saying, Jeff, like, let's take one that I think isn't going to age well, because 20 years from now, the gaming landscape won't be the same. So that whole section in Avengers Endgame, where they're joking about Noob Master 69 and playing that game, that might not even work with an audience 20 years from now. I'm not saying it was a mistake to put it in there. That's a mild example. But I get what you're saying. Like, they're not writing archetypally. They're writing for the reference and the quick laugh, and that's going to come back to age the movie faster. They're not writing at a high enough level anymore. They've forgotten the common experience that makes us all human, and now they're writing from one side of an argument, depending on the plot of the film and the motivations of the characters. Whereas, like, Star Wars, Star Trek, they operate on a humanity scale. This is the common human experience. These are the moral quandaries we all experience through our lives, story to story. In this series, we're going to explore this stuff. But now, boy, they're down in the weeds. They're literally in the weeds, going like, okay, well, what if we have like this movie where like, they go looking for this gem, and while they're looking for a gem, she finds out that this dude that's actually never had sex with anyone in the entire history of the series, that she's his granddaughter somehow. And you're going, God, you guys are so far down in dumb details that don't even tie together properly. You've lost the magic of storytelling. You guys are just like amateur surgeons, and the stitches just look terrible. Like, ugh.
Well, and another thing too, I would argue, I think gaming, for gaming trends to try to follow these things, I think it ages harder because we have a precedent with film. So it's like, oh, this is a film of its time.
Right.
And we're kind of used to that. I mean, everybody here has watched a film that has come out before they were born. So, oh, these were the sensibilities of this day, X, Y, and Z. But gaming's a little different because there's a lot more that goes into, well, that'd be unfair to say. But let me phrase it like this, and then I'll correct myself. There are different things that go into each product. I mean, let's say there's an equal amount of time, maybe even more, depending on the project. But some games take forever. Some movies take a long time. And, that's why you farm out. Go watch a Marvel movie, folks, and you see all the actors' names, and then you see just a wall of text for digital animators. And it's, feet high of names and names and names. So, there are a ton of people that work on these projects, but I just think making a game more dated hurts it. Especially since like I said, we live in the era of remakes, and we have all of these HD remasters that come out. And there's a reason there's demand for, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 1 and 2. They get these HD remasters, these remakes. No one's going to be clamoring for some of these games. Like, nobody's clamoring for Battlefield 5. Nobody wants that. You talk about agenda and games first. That game failed. That game, the guy lost his job over that shit. Patrick, what's his face? So, I mean, we have the precedent there for a lot of these things, and they're really just, making themselves obsolete. It's like that episode of The Twilight Zone with Burgess Meredith, the obsolete man. These are becoming obsolete companies because when your reaction is an eye roll and not excitement, that's a problem, because no media website like an IGN can build up hype unless the fans are really invested. Everybody can say, oh, it's this great game, it's this great movie, X, Y, and Z, but if the bottom line isn't met, these companies don't care anymore. There's all these different pieces to the machine, and now just certain individual parts break down, and we don't really have a complete anything. So
yeah.
Well, and the worst part of this whole deal with the Naughty Dog business and everything else is, whether it was a third party like it was with us in the whole Captain Marvel thing, which it sounds like was kind of the deal here, even though they may be closer to their said company than these, if it would have just got left alone, had nobody done anything, and if Sony or Naughty Dog weren't behind it, if they would have said something or done something about it right away, then none of this crap would have happened. Like, if they just let it go in the natural news cycle, we wouldn't be talking about it right now. Nobody would have cared, really.
Nope.
I don't think it would have been big enough news for us to bring up on the High Council.
What was that again? I'm sorry. You cut out.
I said if they would have just let this run its regular news cycle, I don't think we'd be talking about it right now.
Oh, no. Thank you, by the way, Mr. Ninja Julian. Patrick Soderlund's his name. Thank you. I knew it was Patrick something or other. It wasn't... Oh, and by the way, Mando Merck says the CEO Andrew Wilson about Battlefield 5's reveal trailer. If you don't like it, don't buy it. Their stocks tanked in 2018. EA Dice is a shit developer, overrated. I don't really have a favorite developer outside of Rockstar. I'm worried too about Rockstar, especially with the crunch culture and all these things that are coming to light in the gaming industry. I'm not saying there's a collapse. Look, I know Doom and Gloom makes for great streams and stuff like that. I don't think there's a gaming collapse coming anytime soon, but I do think there's going to be, like with films, there's going to be a restructuring of how we consume certain things. And there's already a ubiquity with digital gaming. Sadly, the thing is with all of this, there's just a wall that prohibits people from doing this because, the internet isn't treated as a necessity as it should be. Some places like Kendo doesn't have the internet. He has to use his phone for all of these streams. That's why he beep boops out. I'm in a major American city, and even our internet cuts out. So we need to, for these companies, again, from what I said earlier, to get to that next step, either these companies need to step in or we need to, reassess priorities or just make better internet across the country. That's really what I'm trying to get at. I didn't know that Dan Houser left Rockstar. Mark, I don't really follow the politics. I just know I'm ready for Grand Theft Auto 6. Anytime they want to release it on the next-gen consoles, I'm there. So I'm going to read some of the super chats before we, because we've been streaming for over 2.5 hours. So folks, do me a favor, if you're still here, hit that thumbs up button to let us know what you like. And we have one more section of the show after this that we're going to be talking about. I'm going to share it on screen, and we're going to roll our eyes together. So get prepared for this stuff. So first off, our friend Silver Phantom X said, Ahsoka and Mara Jade from the EU, not Brie Larson, are better than Rey. Yes. Silver Phantom X, no one here on this panel or even in this stream right now is going to tell you that Ahsoka and Mara Jade are lesser than Rey. Wander says, in Texas, we can walk around with real swords, no permit needed. Also, the cons I've been to, security for props was not too crazy, just a plastic ribbon. Now, Michael, I know you have the most con experience. What is the most extreme thing you've ever seen at a con in terms of gun prop?
It was probably my better half, Melinda. She did the original Tomb Raider from Tomb Raider Anniversary, the remastered game from 2010, something like that. It was the one that was on the Wii. Oh, okay. And she, we made sure we had the grappling hook and the pistols, and then we decided, what we never see in a Tomb Raider costumer, we never see them have the later weapons that you acquire when you arsenal up, as you earn more stuff. And, normally by the end of the game, she's got a shotgun on her backpack and she's got an assault rifle. And we said, we're just going to do it all up. We're going to do it to the nine. So, we gave her the backpack with the shotgun strapped across it. And then she had the big sort of like MP5 style assault rifle with a big silencer on it, and magazine and everything. And we walked on into Dragon Con. And this was 2010, so this was 10 years ago. And even then, the security people came over and they zip tied everything together and Well, the funny part was they were more freaked out about her than the cops were, because we had to walk to the Hard Rock Cafe for dinner, and that means we had to go outside the hotels and go on the sidewalk in downtown Atlanta. And when we did, there were all these cops that were doing crowd control, and they were by their squad car. It was the middle of the night, and there's Melinda with like 4 dummy props, but they're 2 semi-automatic pistols, a pump action shotgun, and an assault rifle, like a military style assault rifle with a silencer on it and everything. And I shit you not, the cops looked at her from across the crosswalk, and they gave her the approving nod. They were like, yeah, yeah. And that was it. They weren't worried at all, not at all. And she just went walking on by, and I'm behind her in like a Ghostbusters outfit, and I'm just like, that is the craziest thing I've ever seen. They didn't even stop her. She'd never, you'd never be able to get away with that now. Not at all. And that was just 10 years ago. Yeah.
I was waiting for you to be like, yeah, they stopped her, and then they realized, whatever, but
no, no, they didn't stop her at all. They literally looked at her and they were like, "Oh yeah," like that was the nod.
Chick with guns. Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were like, it wasn't a term 10 years ago, but imagine if they looked at her with the same nod and gone, "Nice." Like that was exactly the facial expressions they had going on, and yeah, no problem.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Up next, we have our friend Ian Slater, who says, read The Disneyfication of Children's Culture by Henry Grieu. It was an interesting essay, and Disney is at $98, $94 last seen. That's the stock price. I took a picture, Ian, of your recommendation, because I always like a good read in terms of how Disney is like, I mean, in my mind, and a lot of people think of it this way too, sometimes like Disney has too much power. I'm not going to say they're the nefarious evil in the world, the most nefarious evil, but I mean, the small little things they get away with, because in the investors call, you'll hear this, Tom, if you go back or you read a transcript, they bank on their goodwill as financial, not liquidity, but you know what I'm trying to say? They look at their goodwill with the fans as money, essentially.
Dude, are they clueless? They really that clueless, or are they just feeding us full of shit?
I think it's feeding us full of shit. I think, look, I'm not acting like they're taking the water coolers out of the damn building or anything like that. I'm not going to try to, tell you guys, I got all this inside information. It's worse.
No, but they got to be taking the piss out of us at this point with the whole fucking customer. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I don't buy that their brand holds that much. The goodwill is that important.
Do you know how many Disnerds are in the fandom menace for F's sake?
A lot.
Exactly. I know of like 3 or 4 personally.
Somebody's calling bullshit on the story I just told. So just real quick. Hey, Bruce, the photos that you're requesting so that I'm not full of shit, they're on our Facebook page. All right. So kiss my ass. All right.
I love you, Michael. I don't have the balls to do that. I argue with people, but I don't get that direct.
007 Cloud. By the way,
but you forgot the rest of that story where those Canadian cops showed up and they arrested Michael for having an unlicensed nuclear accelerator on his back.
I blame myself.
You should.
If we ever all get together, Tom, I think we need to have a drunk viewing of Ghostbusters, just as a group. Just no camera.
We all just sit there and do the lines through the whole movie.
Yeah. We need a nice. It'll be our to let off some steam. Up next, we had our friend 007 Cloud who says, I cosplay Swordman because the gun fear is real. Well, 007 Cloud, I know of Cloud Strife's sword. I don't think anyone will confuse that as a real weapon, so I think you're safe there, buddy. We actually fought him the other night in Super Smash Brothers, so Jesse and I actually brought you up. I was like, that guy 007 Cloud? That's the character.
What you got on your back there, eh? Looks kind of nuclear. What's that all about?
I do like when the old man is like, what are you, some kind of cosmonaut? I'll take the next one. Let's see. Go Big Boar, go home. Thank you very much. He says, Michael's right. The C-96 was developed in 1896. Michael, you are a man who knows your weaponry.
It's only the vintage weaponry I know. I'm not really all that steeped in modern stuff. I'm a man out of time.
Oh, you're like the Captain America. Okay, cool. I dig it.
There's very few people I would never really argue with if I thought they might be wrong, and Michael's usually one of them, I bet.
But I always will admit when I am, unlike so many armchair warriors on the internet.
If I had to correct you, I would have to come back so apologetically, usually, though, so...
Let's see. Logan Michael Anti-Funko Pops, thank you very much. He says, if you add a pair of pants glasses and a dick logo on a Secret Wars Daredevil, you got a Cecil action figure. That's a pretty good, yeah.
And I'm not kissing Michael's ass. This guy knows his shit. Okay, I've been watching their stuff for years. I went to their... It was because of his video that I told Andre, I'm like, no, we got to fix this toy business with the one video because of Michael's video, and that was one of the few times where I've had to point to his work and just that example of how he knows all this stuff. It's like I'm in awe of it. I mean, I know stupid shit, but I could never tell you what gun was used to make Han's blaster in Return of the Jedi. I have no idea.
It's a man crush. Let's face it.
Shut up.
It's Gary's beard. Now you're cheating on him.
And
Gary's beard will have to live with it.
I just want Bruce to know that I have, just so it's not hard to find, I have reposted the photo of Melinda as Laura from 2010 right on the top of the feed at the Retroblasting Facebook page.
Tom, what you sound like right now, I called Michael our Captain America since he's a man at a time. That means you're our Agent Coulson. Sweet. Remember when Coulson wanted to get...
Funny, because I'm buying cards and shit. Will you sign my card?
It's a vintage set.
It's a vintage
There's
set.
some light foxing around the edges. I miss that kind of fun in movies.
I miss Coulson.
I miss Coulson too. I'm surprised he didn't come back. But
I thought that was the plan, but it just never came to fruition. I mean, they called back to it in Winter Soldier when he's like, "Where did you get this?" He's like, "I got it from a friend." Well, if you've watched Shield, that's where they've been hiding it, was in that show, and then they disconnected after that. So it was just kind of like, well, I guess that doesn't mean anything anymore.
We talk about all the hits with the MCU. There are a couple of misses, and I would argue that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a miss.
Oh God, yes. I tried so hard to watch that show, and I just couldn't get into it.
Same. I gave it the 4-episode leeway that
I gave it 2 seasons.
Oh shit!
They started bringing in the Inhuman stuff, and I just got.
That might be Marvel's biggest failure over the past 15 years. The Inhuman stuff. They tried to make the X-Men irrelevant. They tried to, you can't sell merchandise. We don't want to put out comic books. I think they, for one point, even canceled the Fantastic Four for a minute because they didn't want the Fox properties. They didn't want to promote them, which I get from a business standpoint. But you also, you've hurt the X-Men IP, and you have forced the Inhumans on people, and that was a fucking failure. That just flat out was their biggest failure. Let's see. We have Dixon Sider who says, Revenge of the Fifth. Glad these idiots gave the heads up. Saved me a ton of money for a new car. Party boob! Thank you, Dixon Sider. Appreciate that very much. 6 turning 4 Bernie. Haven't heard from him for a while. What's up? He says, Retro has a point about a lack of common sense. I have t-shirts of Luftwaffe aircrafts I don't wear because of dumbasses that think I'm a Nazi.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. See, that right there shows sometimes your superior common sense has to stretch itself because of the severe dearth of common sense in the modern world. So, yeah, he's exercising that extra common sense ability, and that's smart.
I think we've always had a lack of common sense in a lot of people, but it's just we have social media now, so we all notice it more.
Right? We need to do the Common Sense podcast, Michael. Just get rid of this stuff.
The Common Sense podcast, which could become some kind of like movement, like a society. Right? Yeah. We need our own beret.
Sure.
I vote berets.
I like berets.
Yeah, it'll be like an intellectual kind of beret, like at a salon in France in like the turn of the century. Not that I'm into that kind of thing, but it would be kind of neat anyway. Yeah. All right, I'm getting lost
for it.
Yeah.
Salsa Sharko.
I'm glad to be a part of it.
Salsa Sharko one says Jeff could pull off a Barf from Spaceballs cosplay. Jesse could be Lone Star. Jesse, would you be Lone Star if I'll be Barf?
I've always wanted to be a parody amalgamation of Luke Skywalker and Han Solo.
Well, let's do it. I'm a Mog.
She could pull it off, and it'd probably be pretty hot too. I bet.
Yeah, it would be. We'll get her. All you need are a pair of cowboy boots, beige pants, leather jacket, button down, and a Schwartz ring. Mecca, you have to tell us where you got the Schwartz rings at. I mean, I know that you didn't get it from a Cracker Jack box, but I mean, one where we can buy. eBay. All right.
eBay.
There's 2 sides to every Schwartz.
Yeah, I got them both.
When we eventually have our big Fandom Menace con or meetup or whatever we do, we might have a cosplay contest. We'll do Lone Star and Barf.
I want to do a cosplay contest where the fans dress up as us.
Oh, the fans dress up as us. That's a great idea.
Remind me of Spaceballs after the show. Actually, Andre and I are supposed to be doing something really cool. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to announce it or not. So
I'll remind you. Joey Bryant says, anybody heard about or read the Jar Jar Abrams Spider-Man comic book that him and his son have co-written together?
No, but Rob said it was a ripoff of some storyline. I forgot. Sorry.
I will not buy it. I know how to read comics for free, so that would be one if I was going to give it my time, I would not pay for. I did hear about that when it first broke. And Sarah Pacelli is the artist. She's a fine artist. I don't have any problems with her, but I had read something the other day where people were like, oh, this sucks, blah, 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 and they're spazzing out about it. So as a Spider-Man fan, I guess I must go back and look at some of it and let you know. But as for now, I'm aware, but I haven't read it.
We got a yes, it was crap in the chat.
I'm not surprised, though. the funny thing is, we talk about this stuff, and they're like, "Well, it sucked," and people are like, "Well, everything sucks." It really not. The thing is, everything doesn't suck to us. We're optimistic about stuff. We're positive about things. If it's good, we praise it. If it's not, we're not Collider. There's a reason the Jedi Council of Collider has ended, because there's not really an audience for it. There's really not an audience for people just blindly going, "Oh, this company's putting out this product and it looks so exciting." Like, if you're excited about something, awesome, more power to you. But at least just be honest about it. I don't think a lot of companies give off some honesty. They come off as fake and disingenuous.
They lost all their credit. Oh, go ahead, Mecca.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think people are so anti-happy videos. I have to clickbait the crap out of my happy videos, so they think I'm complaining about something, so they'll watch.
I was just gonna say they lost their heart when they lost John Schnepp, and then they lost their integrity and their credibility which one was it that said, "I was a fan for 5 years. I just want to go to Christian Harloff." At that moment, we knew they were all shilling for Star Wars for 5 years at that point, because they're all like, give them the cut it kind of thing, and then they tried to play it off. Yeah. Sorry, you were going to say something, Jeff. My bad.
No, I wasn't. I was just thinking about what a great day that was. I remember vividly making that video, laughing my ass off, because I had issues with Christian Harloff way back to the movie fights days, where he would kind of bully people for having a different opinion. I was like, he just come off as an asshole. I was like, I'd love to meet that guy and tell him off. And then when I watched him have his little breakdown, I was like, this is just perfect for me. Salvador, thank you very much for your generous super chat. He says, stuck at work tonight, so I can't stay. I just wanted to say hail. And how many rakes does Hasbro have to step on until they get it right, Michael? Your custom will be done in a flash.
Well, first of all, I'm very excited to find out what Sal's custom is. He runs a YouTube channel called 2 Cents Toys. He's a great customizer. Anyone who likes custom action figures should check him out. I think there's an unlimited number of rakes until Hasbro gets the delusion out of their head that they're a movie studio. They need to remember what they were and what role they serve in society, business, all those things.
I will say that I'm a little more optimistic towards what Hasbro could be putting out in terms of just Marvel Legends and some of the Star Wars merchandise, because they have abandoned a lot of crappy modern stuff. But when it comes to the Marvel Legends line, their Toy Biz presentation left a little to be desired, especially with all the Age of Apocalypse stuff. I am not a fan of that storyline. I actually tried to sit down and read it a month ago, and I just couldn't get into it. It's just not for me. So hopefully they are going to vary or alter their course into some more lines that excite me. And I do second your take on Salvador's customs. They are awesome. He sent me personally a bunch of shit, and I love it. He made me a to scale Batman Returns penguin boat.
Wow!
With the wheels, and he sent the figure with it and everything. So I mean, he is awesome at his with his craft. So
that's cool. That's really cool.
Thank you, Grimjoy. Grimjoy says, the only thing that would have made that video funnier is if the camera panned over and we see Vader and Palpatine walking from around the corner, stop, look at each other, then slowly back away. It would be. It's a sad video to watch, but it would be funny to splice in that footage. I think you could add a little levity to it. But
I'm not one for frivolous lawsuits, but I hope she actually does sue him and get something out of it, to be honest with you. But you probably won't.
Yeah, outgassing. Don't worry about it.
Good callback. Bruce Lombardo says, I'm still waiting for my commemorative Acme Anakin Skywalker fire extinguisher. It'll go perfect with Darth Vader's disembodied charred phallus, Bruce. Perfect combination. DeMille Jr., thank you very much. They need to make a talking admiral figure from Picard that just says, sheer effing hubris. Becca wants 2 of those, right?
I have her on my soundboard already. She's a good prop.
Escamano Fano says, Congo, spelled Khango.
Congo.
Darian217, thank you very much. Bought the last copy listed on Amazon, Star Trek Next Generation, the complete series Blu-ray. Worth more than anything else they've released since 2009.
Hopefully you didn't overspend on it, because you can get an import, or at least you could for a while get an import version with the same exact discs, just a different case, and it was a hell of a lot cheaper than the US version. So
I have a question, just a brief question. Does the Next Generation have any alterations like the original Star Trek did?
No.
Okay.
What they did was they were lucky that, see, the way Star Trek Next Generation was filmed was it was still filmed in a way that they did classic opticals. So they were able to just re-render them in the computer, so they look a hell of a lot better than they did in the 90s. Plus, they're in high definition because they were done all on film. So it looks spectacular. Like they've done an amazing job. Some people don't like it just because it looks so good. They're like,
well,
season
2 was unfortunately farmed out to a third party, and they messed up a few shots.
There's some,
So,
but I've actually heard people who say they prefer the DVDs just because the new stuff just doesn't look right to them, and I understand that to a point. But as far as the actual remastering process, no, they didn't really fudge with anything. So yeah, they're really good. Our good friend Robert Meyer Burnett, of course, did all the special features for those.
Nice.
He's even on them in, I think, the second season.
Yeah, he was kind enough to last week or a few days ago, he did a big shout out to a video I did on his latest live stream. And we were like, whoa, we just got shout out from Robert Meyer Burnett.
Oh, yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah.
Ash Lockhart says, honestly, I just don't care anymore about Star Wars. After seeing The Last Jedi and seeing Princess Superwomen, it has just sucked the Star Wars life force out of me. I really don't have anything left. Ash Lockhart, you're definitely not alone. And I don't care how far removed I get. Personally, that Leia scene always makes me angry. It was just dumb. I can't think of a positive from it. Ooh, Leia's fluent in the Force. I don't like Princess Leia being a Jedi. I don't know.
It's because she never was supposed to be.
Okay, then
she wasn't ever even supposed to be Luke's sister.
Yep, I think that is also a lazy change.
Yep.
Yeah.
Darth Bredicus, thank you very much. They come out with a new Boba Fett all the time, but they won't make a new movie about him or bring him back with the Mandalorian. Sorry, and bring him back. The Mandalorian is good, but he's no replacement for Boba Fett. Darth Bredicus, I agree. I would like to ask you guys this briefly. If The Mandalorian was literally a show about Boba Fett and everything was the same, but it was Boba Fett, do you think it would be an even bigger success, or do you think it would just still be the same show and everyone would treat it as the same?
I think there would have been a bigger backlash on Baby Yoda.
Oh, interesting.
Because you would have had, and don't get me wrong, and to a point, rightfully so, a lot of classic fans were like, you went and made my favorite character into a kid's show. What the fuck is this, Boba Fett? Would you just shot the kid and left? You know, and stuff like that. You know, and I'm not trying to make them sound like they're jerks or anything like that, but, you know, I think you risked messing that character up, and then it would just been another nail in the Disney coffin. I think Bob knew better than to go down that route, maybe, because we got close to it. Mangold was supposed to be directing it, and there's some people who kept saying that this is just the repurposed Boba Fett script.
I had that theory. I had that suspicion. I have nothing to confirm it, but
right, same here. I've just heard rumors.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, that it was supposed to be Boba Fett, but then they changed it. But no, I think it's probably better that they didn't go Boba Fett. I think it would have felt too fan servicey.
Well, right, and like I said, you run the risk of pissing off too many fans in the process.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I just wanted to ask you that question because, I mean, I think that's an interesting point from Darth Bredicus, but I've actually never. The thing is, I liked the show enough to a point where I'm like, I don't really miss Boba Fett. I like this new character, but I just wanted to ask your guys' take. Andres Fernandez says, I would prefer James Gunn than Waititi, just saying. For the Star Wars project, how do you guys feel? James Gunn over Waititi, or are you cool with James Gunn? Or Taika Waititi?
I'm going to go on a limb and say Gunn.
Yeah, me too. I agree. Gunn.
Just because Guardians 1 and 2 are like two of my top Marvel movies, so.
Yeah, Oh, sorry, Mecca, go ahead.
No, yeah, I mean, I'm going to agree. I think Gunn is he probably would have been a little less trollish. And that's my concern with Taika Waititi. Is
you can tell that Guardians is a true love letter to Star Wars in a way. Like, there's a lot of it in there. So I feel like if anything, he's shown me unlike Taika, who has not really shown me anything yet to really make me believe he's a Star Wars fan outside of, okay, he gets the joke that stormtroopers couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. Ha ha ha. That's about as good as JJ getting the red shirt joke in 2009 Star Trek. At least with James Gunn going off of those Guardians movies, I think he could handle them. A great Star Wars story, actually. I could be wrong, but that's just my opinion. What do you think, Michael? I'm curious what you think.
I'm only having one thought right now, and that's who's the more trollish, the troll or the fool who started the trolling? and I'm not even trying to drop a joke. You know, I've had this discussion with my crew at Retroblasting a lot, because I am a more confrontational YouTube content creator, I know, and with randos, and you know, with this guy, I don't like the comments that he's made on Twitter about, like, I'll break your myths in a minute, baby, and all that kind of stuff. That being said, I wish, and there's no way to do this, I wish I could follow the breadcrumbs back and find out, was he firing off at somebody that had started the fight, like somebody that didn't give him the benefit of the doubt, somebody that was being an ass to him, and then he, you know, fired back, or what, you know. So that's what occupies my mind is he troll Genesis of his own making, or is he reacting to other shit? That's a
good question. That's because that's kind of the way I think about it too, in a way. I mean, I don't want to prejudge the whole thing, because I mean, again, I could be wrong. We could go to Thor Love and Thunder and it's a big SJW woke fest, and then his Star Wars movie could be worse than anything we get out of Leslye Headland. I could be completely wrong. I want to hope for the best, though.
Right.
You know, I want to hope that in Love and Thunder, he's just messing with us, and we get there, and there's a gimmick to it, and like, oh yeah, she gets to be Thor, but only for or she gets the powers of Thor for like a day. Yeah, you know, or something like that. Like, you know, if Odin shows up from the other side and is like, well, if you're going to marry Thor, you have to know what it's like to be Thor, or something to that effect. Or the only way, if they go with the one storyline, it's the power of Thor that'll cure the cancer she has, or something like that. You know, something that by the end of the movie, she's back to normal. Thor has his powers back. That's what I'm saying. As long as it's that kind of a storyline, I can deal with that. And if it's clever, but again, if it's just something to set up her as the new Thor, I'm out.
Right.
Well, here's his exact tweet from August last year. Here you go. It is.
Yeah, but like he's saying, you got to trace it back to what he's responding to, though.
Yeah. Here's what he's responding to. He's responding to a user saying, "It's due," and then he goes to capitals, "to your Marvel work that this mess is possible. You're writing ruined Thor. His mythos is his character. So no, I do not want to see this film if we are truly getting a Jane Foster Thor. Angry face, angry face, angry face." And then he uses the kitty "do not want," shaking his head back and forth. So yeah, he got a pretty angry troll comment.
Yeah, so as a content creator myself, I sit back and I go, all right, well, I have been on the receiving end of some unwarranted shit.
Yeah,
and I know we all have, and as Tom kind of alluded to, though, I have made it my default mode that I just punch back. But that
I just block after a bit.
Yeah, Tom.
Well, you got the upside, though, Michael, is that, like I said, you're right at least most of the time. So I mean,
but I guess what I'm saying is, with knowing that, and I appreciate you all looking that up. Knowing that, I'm gonna sit back and go, all right, I will reserve judgment on Waititi maybe just being snarky with the guy and just punching back at a troll until I hear more about the projects that he's working on for Thor and Star Wars. I'll get a read on those, and then I'll reevaluate. In the meantime, he doesn't get a pass from me, but he's in the holding area. He's in the what do they call that when your plane is forced to circle? He's in the holding pattern.
Limbo, but
holding pattern. I think.
Yeah, he's in the holding pattern. Yeah, he's in the holding pattern with me. We'll see.
I'm in the same boat. Yeah, I'm kind of like, but I really loved Thor Ragnarok, and Andre was like one of the first people saying, like, no, I enjoyed it. He goes, that's more like what real Thor is, even more so when he's fat Thor.
I love Thor. I love Thor Ragnarok when I saw it. I went out and bought it. What I was saying earlier in the chat was, or in the discussion was, the people that I know who don't like Thor Ragnarok, I've listened to their stuff and I see where they're coming from, but I still really like that movie a lot.
Yeah, I respect a lot of people's opinions on that don't enjoy it or didn't enjoy it or believe like that it did something to the character in a way that they don't like, and they have every right to that opinion as well.
Right.
Just like I do to love it. But to me, I think some people forgot how funny the first Thor was. And how bad the second Thor was.
Yeah.
When they go after Thor Ragnarok. But again, I totally understand. Yeah, the few jokes here and there at the wrong moments. Maybe that's where James Gunn is a little bit better choice when it comes to that, because I could be wrong, but I felt like he's more reserved. Like he knows when not to drop a bad joke.
Right.
Like that moment with, at the end of Thor Ragnarok, when they throw the joke in after Asgard blows up, as opposed to when Yondu dies. If they had dropped a joke right after Yondu died, it wouldn't have worked. But the little joke after the funeral bit does work, I think, in my opinion. So there's like a balance there you have to find, and I think Gunn's a little bit better at that, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
JSP has an interesting question.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's getting so late. Sorry.
Anyone like the Interceptor from the Wraith?
It was all right, yeah.
Michael, any thoughts on that car?
The Interceptor from the Wraith.
Charlie Sheen movie?
Oh, yeah. I only vaguely remember that car. I'm going to pass on that question. I'll let Tom.
Well, yeah. My it has been how many years? I've probably seen it on VHS or cable.
But your memory is clearer of it, so I'm going to let your answer stand.
My memory is that it was a decent enough cool car, yeah.
Okay.
Go Big Boar, go home. Thank you very much. He says, Jeff, just when I thought I couldn't love you more, you profess the same hatred of country music that I have. Right on. Sean, I hate country music. I even told Jessie if she was into country, we would have issues. I've said that to you, have I not?
Yep.
So I don't like country music whatsoever. Red Visor 137C says, which game is better, Star Wars Battlefront 2 from 2005 or Battlefront 2 by DICE? I was so nice I hosted a giveaway of the Celebration Edition through a Star Wars trivia quiz. I'm going to say the 2005 Battlefield or Battlefront. Star Wars Battlefront, right? That's what it was. Because I played it at my friend Virgil's, my neighbor, and I never played the new one, so I cannot comment on that. Do you guys, anything you want to add?
I never played any of the Battlefronts, shockingly enough. The first round of Battlefronts that were from the old company, or LucasArts or whatever it was, they came out when I was, I think, in grad school or something, and I didn't have any money. And then when the new ones came out recently, I heard how terrible they were, and I like Mecca was talking about reading the video game reviews. I read the reviews and I was like, there's no real campaign. I'm not buying these. So I didn't play those either. I'm waiting for a good FPS Star Wars game like Dark Forces to come back around. So
one day.
Eden
Franklin, thank you very much. Eden says, it's like Retro had said, it doesn't matter to them.
Yeah, it's true.
Acid Blade 21, thank you very much for your generous super chat. It doesn't mean anything about Taika Waititi getting hired by Lucasfilm. As long as it's Kathleen Kennedy running the show and making bad decisions, then current Star Wars will continue to be garbage. Especially with the Obi-Wan scripts. I mean, she was the one that kind of made that call about it not being up to snuff. And if all of a sudden she has this great creative genius, I'll admit, hey, what you made, the calls you made were excellent. But until then,
I'd say more like screwed the pooch.
Yeah.
Because she even admitted that they were too much like The Mandalorian. It's like, well, why didn't you realize this 6 months ago?
Yeah, no reason whatsoever. NA says, no Rocky Horror. Rainbow Coalition disliked that. Oh, sorry. I read Wanderers first. I got to read Wanderers. Excuse me. Wanderer says, I'm with you, Jeff. Thor is better than Ragnarok. Too much like making a fool of Thor. Didn't like Valkyrie. Also, personal peeve of mine. Why does Loki only use illusion magic? Dude, I'll be honest, Wonder, I've only seen it that time. I saw it twice. Once in theaters, once when I was doing the Avengers marathon with Phil. I don't really remember Ragnarok that well, and I just remember my feelings towards all the humor. But Wonder, I'm with you about the. I'm glad you're like that with me, and I didn't like Valkyrie either. So, Thank you very much. NA says, no Rocky Horror. Rainbow Coalition dislike that. I will briefly say that when I talked about last year in the video, the reason I think Disney would never touch Rocky Horror is because they can't handle the implication of, the importance of Rocky Horror in the gay community. So they don't want to offend. They don't want to be off-putting to that community. So they'll definitely let that movie, do what they will with it. Jake CB, thank you very much. Disney was counting on becoming a nationalized government agency. Well, look what happened to him, Jake. Now they're kind of scrambling behind the scenes. So, and I'm taking great pleasure in it. Mr. Wonderful, thank you very much for your icon and your super chat. Rupert Murdoch is the largest shareholder. I guess from Disney.
The Fox acquisition part. I forgot about that. Yeah, my bad.
Jason C, thank you very much for your generous super chat. Simply says F Naughty Dog. Press F in the chat if you agree with Jason C. Send an F to Naughty Dog. Yeet Yote Dude says the gender or sexuality of character isn't even in the top 50 problems with the leaks. Yeet Yote Dude, I agree. My biggest problem is the culture of the production of The Last of Us 2. I don't care about you want to have a woman as a lead? Cool. Michael brought up Tomb Raider and how he's played all of them and loves it. And Melinda dresses up as Lara Croft. I've seen the movies in theaters. I'm sure Mecca and Tom have at least experienced Tomb Raider. So it's not about Lara Croft being a woman or any of these characters being female. It's just crap games are crap games. And sometimes gender just turns off people. Doesn't matter how great it is. Private Halo, thank you very much for your generous super chat. If you have the power to remove Kathleen Kennedy and put in whoever you want to delete Lucasfilm, who would it be? Because I think only George Lucas or probably Mark Hamill would be the best choice of that has the backing of the fans. So this is a roundtable question. Who are you removing? Who are you replacing Kathleen Kennedy with? Mecca, you go first.
Ooh, Seth MacFarlane. I just like him. I trust him. I trust his judgment. Yeah, I think he'd probably be decent. I mean, look what he did with Star Trek.
Tom, what about you? Who are you picking?
Probably Favreau.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Favreau with myself. Michael?
Well, Favreau right now would be the only person. I know a lot of people said Filoni as well. There's this reticence from a large camp of people that don't like Kennedy, but they don't want to pick Filoni. And I guess there's a reason. So I would say Favreau, since he's got the clout.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with what he's done, so I'm going to say him. Our friend Mark C, thank you very much. He says, sorry to derail the chat, but I'm desperate for help. Michael, I tweeted you a restoration question about a vintage Lone Ranger in silver I acquired. If you could look at it, I would be in your debt.
Okay, sure.
I thought of you the other day, Michael, before I reached out to have you on the show. Somebody was using the hydrogen peroxide trick to whiten some old Power Rangers figures. And I remember when we had our little interview 2 years ago, I brought that up to you. So just having a flashback to a simpler time before YouTube became what it is now.
Okay. Cool.
Let's see. 007 Cloud, thank you very much. I took pics with cops with my Jon Snow cosplay. The rules can be inconsistent. You're right. The rules can be inconsistent about a great many things, 007 Cloud. So it wasn't just Michael's story. I mean, I'm sure other people have had situations where cops were a lot cooler than they should be in certain situations. And there's also the opposite. I've experienced those stories myself. So if anybody ever wants to know, just ask me on the World Class Bullshitters podcast, not this show. I'll gladly open up. Culture Casino, thank you very much. He says, Tom knows I am dis nerd. I'm a dis nerd. Excuse me.
He's one of them.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's like, hey, if you're a fan of this channel and a dis nerd, you're more than welcome.
Nothing wrong with that.
Alejandro Barea, thank you very much. That's why with toys, I'm glad I'm a Transformers collector, because they've been really great nowadays with paying homage to Generation 1. Michael, do you collect Transformers? Are they paying homage?
I only collected a few Masterpiece. I've collected all the original Generation 1 ARC crew, which is where my interest lies. Any of the characters on good guy or bad guy from the original animated miniseries. Other than that, once they start getting into Power Glide and anything really beyond the Dinobots, I lose interest. But I do have a collection of G1 Transformers, some of the re-released, what they call Chug lines, Hinky Classics, Universe Generations of the original characters, and then some Masterpiece.
Bruce Lombardo, thank you very much again. He says, Michael, I know I won't be the only one, but I always try to catch your streams unless I'm running my 3 times D&D game. Same campaign for over 4 years. I appreciate your channel, and you're a good man.
Well, thanks. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Bruce is a hell of a dude, Michael. He's super cool to us. I'm glad he's listening to your channel too. I need to catch your streams, but usually you said you stream Saturday, correct?
Yeah, I stream on Saturday. Yep.
Moving to a different time zone, and especially with I've been working up late. Like I get up and it's like 3 o'clock your guys' time. I'm like, fuck, and I'm still working on Eastern time. Then I'm like, well, my day.
I get in there late and I tell him to restart every time, and he never does.
maybe one day it'll work. TLJ Screwjob, thank you very much. TLJ Screwjob says, "Not in here, you're not. This is a Mercedes." Well, thank you for the Spaceballs reference.
That's my name. Barf.
I'm a Mog.
I'm my own best friend.
Bruce Lombardo also asks, "Did you read The Toy Collector by James Gunn?" I've never heard of it. Michael, have you heard of it?
The Toy Collector by James Gunn.
Yeah.
No, I've never heard of that.
Like only the other older movies I know of his are Super and the one about the
Slither.
Yeah,
that's a good movie. Our friend Escamanofono, thank you very much. Here's money. Here's PS5 money. That Leia space is joy. Ha ha ha. The Leia space is joy. Well, thank you very much for the PS5 money. I will put that aside in our WCBS coffers towards our Twitch channel one day. But the Leia space scene just makes me cringe. I remember going to my local Walmart and finding a Force Awakens Leia figure, and I picked it up and I was like, does this fly? And I just dropped it and it crash lands. So that's somewhere in our old toy video, Escamanofono, if you want to check that out. Clobberin' Times, great screen name. Great show, guys. You should all check out Michael's amazing new video titled To Be Fair about sycophant fans being corporate shills. It's brilliant.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, Mike Alonso, he's been running that podcast for many years, and I've been fortunate to be a guest on it for the last 10 years on and off. Great guy. He's one of us. He's a legacy fan that goes way back, all the way back to he met Jack Kirby, as a matter of fact.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's a comic book expert, great guy. And he's moving his podcast over to YouTube now. He's moving from his host provider to YouTube. It's the Clobberin' Time podcast. Good guy.
Oh, I need to check that out because anybody that's met Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
I love comic stories. That's the one thing I try not to do with Ethan is talk his ear off, asking him like insider questions, because it's like, I mean, I like to draw, but I'm also a huge comic nerd. So it's like, oh my God, I'm friends with this guy that's been, in the industry for a long time, and he has all these stories, but I also don't want him to talk about work because work is work. So
yeah,
that duality with our friendship. Makini90, thank you very much. Do you believe that there's an internal war going on in Lucasfilm with Favreau and Kennedy?
Not between them two particularly, probably, but there is. I do believe that there's the two camps.
Yeah, I'm taking notes right now, Makini90. I do want to talk about a video with that kind of stuff, internal Lucasfilm war, because
yeah,
it makes for good entertainment, and so that's what we do here on this channel. So thank you, Makini90. And Wonder says, one thing I like in Ragnarok is Thor. The power is Thor's. Instead of, I guess, yeah, because it's not Mjolnir anymore. Thor is the powerful one. Mjolnir's just a tool. So, yeah, I guess I like that too. I didn't like that he lost his eye or got his hair cut. I think the first half of Thor Ragnarok I really like. It's post meeting Tessa Thompson's character and then stuff with the Hulk I wasn't in love with, but that's just me.
That's the bits I love. I love him in the Hulk.
My favorite thing about Ragnarok is it was the second to last film that really tied into, it was really technically, in my opinion, the last film that ties into Infinity War, because I know Black Panther was next, but Black Panther feels a little inconsequential towards the bigger picture outside of the Wakanda final battle. So that's just me. I'm not trying to, open up on a whole new can of worms here tonight, but folks, before you click away, I do want to cover the top 10 Star Wars moments. I'm going to do that over on Mindless Entertainment with Jesse. So the link is in the chat. Join us. We will cover that at the top of the show. Already got that worked out. And it's going to be a Jack Show stream. So we're going to be drinking for Cinco de Mayo. I got us Modelo Negro in the fridge. Going to order burritos and tacos and just have a hell of a time. And you guys can bring any topic of discussion that you would like. It's going to be a great night. We also had Logan Michael Anti-Funko Pop that says good night and pop gay. Logan Michael, thank you very much. Michael, where can everyone find you on the internet?
They can find me at youtube.com/retroblasting. They can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We have a Pinterest. We don't use it. Yeah. So those are the main portals. And yeah, we'd love to have you guys check out our videos. We've been around for 8 years now. So yeah.
Folks, I highly recommend it. Michael knows this, Tom knows this, but I've been a fan of that channel for a long time. This isn't me trying to, promote something because Michael's our guest. I've been watching the videos for years. You probably find our comments. So that's a high recommendation from all of us here on the channel. Mecca, where can we find you on the internet?
I am MeccaRandom42. I have a YouTube channel. I have Twitter. It's at Random Monkey. You can see it in the little parentheses there. I have Twitch, Random Game User 42. All the places I appear on Creepy Little Book when I can, on High Strangeness, where we talk about UFOs and weird stuff and ancient history and all the things, the Bigfoots and the sea monsters and the cool stuff, and ghosts and cool things. And where else? Midnight's Edge After Dark. Here, I'm forgetting a million places. Twitch.
Creepy Little Book, did you say that?
Yeah, Creepy Little Book, Twitch. And yeah.
Tom, where can we find you on the internet, buddy?
Hopefully never on the porn sites, but you can find me on Midnight's Edge and Midnight's Edge After Dark. I'm hanging around wherever I can. I get told that I'm everywhere, like the Matrix. So yeah, I'm sure you see me pop up somewhere anyway.
Well, I'm glad you are, because I enjoy going on to other people's streams, and there's Tom. So it's like I could be in a room full of strangers. There's Tom. Got a buddy, so we can weather anything. We have one final super chat from Makini90. Thank you very much, Makini90. He says, with Jane Foster Thor, my problem is how they completely disrespect Thor in the comics. That's what worries me about Love and Thunder. Well, Makini90, I feel like a lot of people have those concerns, and I think it's very valid, because we've watched Sony ruin characters. We've watched Marvel ruin characters. We've watched 20th Century Fox create cinematic abortions out of the Fantastic Four. So it's not out of the realm of possibility, and I don't think anyone being hesitant is a problem. Now, folks, like I said, we're going to be playing over on Mindless Entertainment the countdown to Star Wars. We're going to be doing all kinds of stuff. It's a Jack Show stream. It's a super show. Now, the Jack Show includes Anna, that Star Wars girl, correct?
That's correct.
And John Malin.
Those are my two confirmed. Anna's working with going to talk to Kelsey and Cecil.
It's possibly Kelsey and
So
Cecil.
hopefully the C and the K. We've got Ja for sure.
We have we'll be the Jaj show. So.
Jaj. If we have to be, we will.
We'll be the Jaj Gabor. So, folks, I'm going to head out tonight. I'll be back on Thursday with a video about Naughty Dog, and you can find us here on the channel every single day. So, folks, thank you for watching. Appreciate everybody who supports the channel, who watches the channel, who does everything that you guys do. So, from all of us here in the Fandom Menace, thank you for watching. And as always, be excellent to each other.